Chapter 1565. The curtain of the origin of the world slowly opened in front of Tang Zheng. He could not wait to know the secret, so he asked, "Where are the remaining god stones?" The four symbols and Buzhou Mountain looked at each other and shook their heads. "We don't know either." Tang Zheng was greatly disappointed. He thought that there would at least be some clues, and it would be easy to follow the map. He did not expect that there would not even be a clue. This vast world was so big, where could he find the god stones? One had to know that they did not even know the size of the god stones. They could be anywhere, in the valley, in the deep sea, or even underground. There was a limit to human strength. It was impossible to truly search every corner of the world. Therefore, this was an unrealistic wish. Then we can only rely on luck. Tang Zheng sighed. He did not want to continue forcing it. This kind of thing could not be forced. "Master, other than that, I have some other gains," the four symbols said again. Tang Zheng immediately stared at him, looking like he was all ears. The four symbols continued, "Ever since the explosion of the god stone, I have been drifting in the world, experiencing wind and rain. One day, a tribe suddenly found me and took me back. They worshipped me day and night, treating me as a god." Tang Zheng thought for a moment before lightly nodding his head. The four symbols looked at him and said, "Master, you must have guessed that this tribe was the witch tribe." At that time, it was still a primitive society. The witch tribe had already existed since then. After many years, the witch tribe grew stronger day by day. They gradually used all kinds of stone tools to polish me. After thousands of years, they finally polished me into 4 parts, which are the 4 symbols venerables. I have been worshipped by them as their guardian god for generations. "The witch tribe created you," Tang Zheng exclaimed. This was very similar to his previous estimation. He thought that the 4 symbols venerables came from an extremely powerful expert. He did not expect that it came from such a simple witch tribe. 1,000 years. How many generations had it taken for them to complete this magnificent feat? The witch tribe's courage and perseverance were admirable. Another day, a goddess descended from the heavens and taught the witch tribe magical powers. From then on, the witch tribe walked the path of true power, defeating other tribes and growing stronger. Goddess from the heavens? Who is she? Tang Zheng immediately realized the key point. He had never heard of the goddess before. The 4 symbols nodded at Tang Zheng and said, "Master, this goddess is none other than the Empress of the Heavens Beyond Heaven's imperial family, Xiao Bai's mother." "It's her." Tang Zheng was suddenly enlightened. When the Empress passed through the space door and descended to this world, he did not expect that she would be in human form. Actually, it made sense when he thought about it. The royal family had to cultivate to a certain level before they could transform into humans. The Empress naturally had this ability. Even after passing through the spatial door, she still had this ability. However, why were there almost no legends about the goddess in the sorcerer tribe? Instead, there were more legends about the holy beasts. Xiao Bai is a holy beast, so the goddess is naturally a holy beast as well. It's just a different form. Tang Zheng thought for a while and barely found an answer. "Master, the ancients worshipped the strong. The more ferocious one was, the more they would be worshipped. Therefore, when the goddess fought with the other tribes, she would transform into the form of a holy beast. This was enough to intimidate the enemy and motivate the sorcerer tribe warriors." The 4 symbols explained. Tang Zheng was shocked. So there was this reason. It seemed that the sorcerer tribe's legends had their reasons. The Empress often looked at people in the form of a holy beast, so the sorcerer tribe would naturally remember this form. Perhaps the sorcerer tribe also liked this form of a holy beast, so they wrote about it. Later on, the goddess died after giving birth to an egg. She was heavily injured in the heavens beyond heaven in her early years, leaving behind sequelae. She persisted until she gave birth to her offspring. Only then did she close her eyes. The 4 symbols said bluntly, without much emotion. However, Tang Zheng could not do this. He was extremely shocked and could not calm down for a long time. If Xiao Bai knew about this, he would definitely be very excited. The next time he went to the heavens beyond heaven, he would definitely tell him about his mother's story. This was something he had the right to know. These are the memories that were stimulated after I merged with Mount Buzhou. I don't know anything else. The four symbols said. Tang Jing nodded his head. This is already enough. It has answered many of my questions. Oh right, you said that the goddess taught the witch clan the primal chaos Vajra spell? Yes, it's the primal chaos Vajra spell. This ability seems to be tailor-made for the witch clan. After the witch clan cultivated the primal chaos Vajra spell, they were invincible and defeated many strong enemies. The primal chaos Vajra spell was so powerful, yet the elders and the others had yet to reach their peak state. If they wanted to recreate the witch clan's former glory, the witch clan still had a long way to go. When he returned this time, he had to find the elders of the witch clan to talk about that period of history in detail. The history of the witch clan was not as clear and concise as the four symbols' description. Master, Ji Wuxiang is already dead. Where are we going now? The four symbols asked. Back to southern Yunnan. Although Ji Wuxiang was dead, he still had many followers under him. Mu Hongyan and the others were still in southern Yunnan, so he did not know if they were lucky or not. Therefore, he should hurry back and meet up with them as soon as possible. But just as this thought flashed through his mind, his heart jumped, and he immediately stopped in his tracks, saying, "Wait a moment." Then, his thoughts sank into the heavenly book. The heavenly book actually shone brightly, and the colorful light was too much for the eyes to take in. What's going on? Tang Zheng was shocked. He did not touch the heavenly book, so why would the heavenly book have such a huge reaction? Master, what's wrong? The four symbols asked anxiously. Tang Zheng seemed to have been petrified, and did not answer him. The four symbols immediately realized that he must have entered some kind of mysterious state, so they guarded in front of him, guarding against any possible danger. Tang Zheng was immersed in the heavenly book. In the past, his comprehension of the heavenly book was not too deep, and he had inherited Fushi's comprehension of the heavenly book. Of course, this could not be compared to the Emperor of Heaven. After all, he had spent his entire life studying and comprehending the heavenly book. At this moment, he was immersed in the heavenly book, and he actually felt like a fish in water. Many of the essence of the heavenly way slowly unfolded in front of him, and quickly integrated into his body and mind. How could this be? He was shocked. His eyes were wide open, and he really looked like a wooden person. He could not help but be surprised. After all, the heavenly way and Yan Qingyi were closely related, and it was impossible to determine whether they were friends or enemies. At this critical juncture, he actually miraculously comprehended more profound things in the heavenly book, and had a new understanding of the heavenly way. Facing all this, how could he not be surprised? What was the cause of all these changes? I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and peace. Because there are too many things going on at home, in the last few days of this month, this book will temporarily update a chapter every day, please forgive me. After these few days, things will be settled, and the updates will resume as usual. To read the latest novel, please visit the website. Chapter 1566. The mysteries of the heavenly book appeared automatically. Tang Zheng took a deep breath and suppressed his astonishment. He quickly adjusted his state of mind and comprehended the essence of the heavenly book. As time passed, the four symbols and Mount Buzhou stared at him without blinking. Swoosh! After a long while, Tang Zheng's eyes shone with a terrifying light. Then, he retreated from that mysterious realm. His expression was solemn and he seemed to be deep in thought. A mysterious veil was slowly pulled away in front of him. So that's how it is. All of this is because I read and listened to the details of the origin of the world. It seemed to contain some kind of profound principle, and then it matched with the heavenly book. The heavenly way naturally revealed itself, and I easily comprehended the essence of it. He nodded heavily and confirmed his speculation. Didn't this mean that the heavenly book or the heavenly way had some kind of mysterious connection with the origin of the world and was successfully stimulated? Master, what's wrong? The four symbols saw that he had returned to normal and hurriedly asked. Tang Jing spoke of his experience and conjecture. The four symbols and Mount Buzhou muttered to themselves at the same time. The guardian spirit of Mount Buzhou said, "Your conjecture is indeed reasonable. Perhaps in the future when we see more scenes, the answer will naturally surface. Master, since you've comprehended a part of the heavenly book and comprehended the essence of the heavenly way, then compared to Yan Qingyi, who has a deeper understanding of the heavenly way?" The four symbols asked curiously. He knew that Yan Qingyi had always been a problem that Tang Zheng was worried about. Umo revealed a bitter smile and said, "It's not as easy as you make it out to be. Yan Qingyi is the one chosen by the heavenly way. Naturally, her understanding of the heavenly way is unparalleled. That's fine. If you understand more of the heavenly way, it'll be easier to deal with Yan Qingyi in the future." The four symbols' tone changed. Tang Zheng, on the other hand, agreed with this point. He was worried about Mu Hongyan and was in a hurry to leave the 100,000 mountains. He said directly, "For symbols, we'll be leaving first. Mount Buzhou, what are your plans?" If Buzhou Shan wanted to leave, then he would put him into Sumer world. The 100,000 great mountains are my roots, so of course I will stay. This place gave birth to countless people. Now that it has been destroyed, it will regain its former glory in the future. Buzhou Shan said. He had no intention of leaving. Tang Zheng understood his thoughts and did not force him. He hurriedly bid farewell to Buzhou Mountain with the four symbols and rode the somersault cloud toward the city in Dianan. Tang Zheng had used the soul-searching technique on Ji Wuxiang, so he knew his troop arrangement like the back of his hand. As Tang Zheng had expected, Ji Wuxiang had indeed arranged two centers. One was the 100,000 mountains, and the other was Dianan City. The celestial chess pieces were set up in both places. They helped each other and supported the celestial chess pieces above Dianan and the 100,000 mountains. Yi Xuanji was the one in charge of the city. With Granny Li dead and Long Xianyuan crippled, only Yi Xuanji could be of use. Although there were other martial artists who joined Ji Wuxiang, no one could be compared to Yi Xuanji in terms of vision, methods, or experience. After all, Yi Xuanji was once the head of the Ye family. His ability was unquestionable. From afar, Tang Zheng noticed that the qi in the city had changed. It was not affected by the celestial chess of the 100,000 mountains, but the celestial chess set up in this place had changed. Under the celestial chess, no one can escape my detection. Umo had already become the new master of the celestial chess. After a simple experiment, he could already control the celestial chess with ease. As a result, his mind moved, and the huge Dianan was completely imprinted in his mind. Every detail was vivid and lifelike, like a vivid model. Suddenly, he frowned and said with a pale face, "Hongyan is in danger." Whoosh! The somersault cloud turned into an afterimage and swooped down from the sky, heading straight to a corner of the city. The ordinary people in Dianan were already used to seeing people flying around in the sky. Therefore, even if they saw a huge cloud flying down, they were not surprised at all. Ever since Ji Wuxiang took complete control of Dianan, it became a country within a country. Martial artists no longer avoided the ordinary people. They came and went, and even flew in the sky. Humans had a strong ability to accept things. Other than the initial shock and discomfort, they gradually got used to it. On the contrary, if they did not see people flying around in the sky every day, they would find it strange. It's the thundercloud beast. The four symbols pointed at a huge creature not far away. The thundercloud beast actually fell to the ground, and its body was covered with a layer of intertwined light. The thundercloud beast kept struggling and releasing lightning, but it could not completely break free from the big net. Tang Zheng's head sank. The thundercloud beast's misfortune reflected the strength of the martial artists in Dianan City. "Thundercloud beast, I'm here to save you." The four symbols could not hold back anymore. They roared and descended from the sky. The martial artists also saw the somersault cloud. They roared and soared into the sky, using all kinds of weapons to attack the four symbols. The four symbols were fearless, as if they did not see anything. They rushed into the weapons that filled the sky. Ping, ping, pang. The four beasts were completely unharmed, but the weapons were completely destroyed. They broke into pieces, and pieces fell from the sky like a fairy scattering flowers. Boom! The four symbols' feet landed on the ground, and the earth trembled. Those with weaker cultivation were directly sent flying into the air by the huge force. Who dares to hurt the thundercloud beast? The four symbols grabbed the big net on the thundercloud beast and tore it with both hands. Even the reinforced iron bones could not withstand this force. Whoosh! The big net was torn into pieces. The thundercloud beast broke free and flapped its wings. A strong wind blew, and the martial artists swayed left and right. They could not resist at all. The thundercloud beast gradually rose into the sky, and its body rapidly grew. In a short while, it became a huge creature, blocking the sun in the sky. Everyone only felt darkness above their heads, and then it lit up again. Lightning. The thundercloud beast released lightning. A thick bolt of lightning fell from the sky. Just as it was about to hit the ground, the lightning changed again, turning into thousands of tiny electric snakes, covering every corner and every martial artist. Pa, pa, pa. Immediately, the sound of electric shocks rose and fell one after another, and a thick burnt smell filled the air. Some of the stronger martial artists were able to withstand the electric shock at first, but as more and more electric snakes wrapped around their bodies, no one could withstand it anymore. They fell to the ground one after another, emitting black smoke and twitching incessantly. Apart from the four symbols who were still standing unscathed, no one else was left standing. Chapter 1567. Tang Jing stood on the somersault cloud and looked down at the messy battlefield. Not a single enemy could stand up. However, Mu Hongyan and Nana were not here. The thundercloud beast flew in front of Tang Jing and said guiltily, "Master, this is my dereliction of duty. I did not protect the two of them well." "What exactly happened?" Tang Jing asked in a deep voice. "We tried to destroy the celestial chess, but the enemy was too cunning. Many of them swarmed out. We destroyed a portion of the celestial chess, but the enemy was fierce, so we could only retreat. Later, Nana wanted to go back to the Long family to take a look. When we arrived at the Long family met Long Xianyuan. Both sides had a good chat, but we did not expect Long Xianyuan to leak the news. The enemy swarmed over and surrounded us. We finally broke through the encirclement, but we were separated. In the end, I was accidentally caught in the net." The thundercloud beast roughly explained the whole story in a few words, and its eyes were filled with guilt. "Master, please punish me. This is all my fault." The thundercloud beast said dejectedly. Tang Jing patted its head and said, "Thundercloud beast, it's not your fault. I didn't think it through. I didn't expect Ji Wuxiang's power to be so strong. This Dianan is like a piece of iron. You guys took the risk, and the danger was far beyond my expectations. Master, we must save them as soon as possible." The thundercloud beast said impatiently, very concerned about the safety of the mother and daughter. "Dianan is so big, why don't we split up and find them faster?" Tang Jing shook his head gently. "There's no need to split up. I know where they are." In the celestial chess, everything was under Tang Jing's control. "For symbols, let's go." For symbols stomped heavily on the ground, and the ground quickly collapsed, turning into a huge pit. Then, he soared into the sky and landed on the somersault cloud. Whiz! The somersault cloud whizzed away. The thundercloud beast flapped its wings, and its huge body covered the sky. Wherever it passed, the sunlight in the sky was blocked. The people on the ground raised their heads and looked at this huge creature in shock. It was an eye-opener. The Long family's manor had long lost its former glory. The manor with green hills and clear waters had been desolate for a long time. But today, the manor was bustling again, and there was a murderous intent hidden in the dark. Whoosh! Suddenly, a gust of wind blew from the horizon. A white cloud and a huge object flew over and stopped above the manor. The thundercloud beast flapped its wings, and a gust of wind descended from the sky, wreaking havoc in the manor. The water in the clear lake was directly swept up and soared into the sky, turning into a tornado. However, this tornado was formed by the lake water, and its power was exceptionally vast, so much so that it was even terrifying. Whoosh! Whoosh! More than a dozen martial artists soared into the sky, trying to attack. Boom! The water tornadoes moved quickly, wrapping around these martial artists. They didn't even have time to scream before they were sucked into the tornadoes. Not long after, they were flung out and fell to the ground, never to get up again. Master, are they in the manor? The thunder cloud beast asked curiously. Just now, they had already broken through the encirclement and left the manor. Could it be that they were captured again? Tang Jing nodded. This manor is not simple. It's very strange. I can feel their aura in the manor, but their exact location is very vague. The four symbols knew that Tang Zheng had mastered celestial chess, but even he couldn't find the exact location of the mother and daughter. Obviously, this was very strange. Tang Zheng wasn't surprised and explained the reason. Ji Wuxiang taught a part of the secrets of celestial chess to Yi Xuanji so that he could replace Ji Wuxiang to complete a lot of work and take charge of the work in Dianan City. So, Yi Xuanji must have done something to avoid my detection. Yi Xuanji is so powerful? The four symbols was very surprised. Back then, if it wasn't for Tang Zheng's life-continuing pill, Yi Xuanji would have died long ago. Among the major families, other than the Yan family, Yi Xuanji had suffered many losses along the way. Not only did the Ye family fall apart, even his descendants either died or betrayed him. However, he became the person that Ji Wuxiang relied on the most. One had to admit that he was powerful. No matter how powerful he is no longer a concern. Ji Wuxiang is dead, so he has no one to rely on. He is just a rootless duckweed. Tang Jing didn't take it to heart at all and said indifferently. Master is right. Without Ji Wuxiang, the others are all shrimp soldiers and crab generals. There is no need to worry about them. The thundercloud beast agreed. Master, you only need to watch the battle. I will go down and turn the place upside down to find them. The thundercloud beast was ready to make up for its mistakes. I will go too. The four symbols didn't decline. Go. Tang Jing nodded slightly and agreed. Now that he was in control of the situation, he couldn't do everything himself. Sometimes, he would let his subordinates handle it and give them space to grow. Whoosh! A gust of wind descended from the sky as the thundercloud beast dived down like a fighter jet. Before it landed, the lightning bolts had already flown out like cannonballs, landing on the ground and exploding with a loud bang, filling the sky with dust. The four symbols were simple and violent. After falling from the sky, the ground collapsed and a hole the size of a football field appeared. Martial artists rushed out from all directions and attacked the four symbols with all kinds of weapons. The four divine beasts leaped out of the crater, and a spear flew toward him. He reached out with his large hand, and the spear was caught in his hand. The terrifying forward momentum vanished, and he turned the spear around. Whoosh! The long spear flew out and pierced a martial artist's chest. The martial artist flew back and crashed into another martial artist. The long spear's momentum didn't decrease. In the blink of an eye, several martial artists were skewered by the long spear like a stick of candied haws. The way the four symbols and the thundercloud beast appeared was unstoppable. However, the martial artists weren't afraid at all and rushed forward one after another. Tang Zheng looked at this scene and couldn't help but sigh. He didn't know what method Ji Wuxiang had used, but he was actually able to twist the scattered cultivators into a single rope. It was truly amazing that all of them were of the same mind. In front of absolute strength, there was no qualitative change in numbers. The thundercloud beast and the four symbols were invincible. Everywhere they passed, martial artists fell. The manor was in a complete mess, riddled with holes. Boom! With a loud bang, a villa was hit by the thundercloud beast's wings and fell apart like tofu, turning into ruins. The fists of the four beasts landed on a wall, and the wall immediately cracked open. The cracks extended like a spider web, and another building collapsed with a loud bang. The Dianan Long family spent hundreds of years to build this huge paradise-like manor. It was gradually destroyed in the hands of the thundercloud beast and the four symbols. Tang Jing didn't stop him. Long Xinyuan didn't understand the situation and didn't care about his family. He informed the enemy that he was already an enemy. The Long family's manor was turned upside down and all the villas were destroyed. However, there was still no sign of Mu Hongyan and Nana. Tang Zhang's heart trembled. His senses were definitely not wrong. They were in this area. Chapter 1568. Tang Jing floated in the air, his clothes fluttering in the wind. He stretched out his hands and spread his fingers as he roared, "Let's see how you hide." Boom! With a loud bang, the soil seemed to have a life of its own as it soared into the sky. The ground seemed to have been plowed. Everything underground was overturned, and there was nowhere to hide. The four symbols and the thundercloud beast flew into the air and stopped attacking. They watched Tang Jing make his move, their eyes shining. They had no way of finding the hiding fellows, but these fellows had no way of hiding from their master. Boom! 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 The ground was completely hollowed out, and the sky and earth seemed to have switched places. The sky was full of dust, and the ground turned into a huge pit. This pit was the size of dozens of football fields. In other words, the huge manor was completely hollowed out and flew into the air, revealing the true appearance of the underground. A few pairs of eyes looked at the true appearance of the underground and immediately widened their eyes in surprise. A huge dome was quietly hiding. If all the soil had not flown into the air, it would be impossible to discover that there was another world underground. This was not as simple as digging 3 feet into the ground. It was more than 100 meters deep. Then, wouldn't the underground dome be hundreds or even thousands of meters deep? How could such a huge project be completed without anyone noticing? In the past, Tang Jing did not notice anything when he came here. Even he did not notice anything just now. However, he believed in his intuition, so he used his great ability to turn the manor upside down. Only then did he finally notice something. Tang Jing sneered and said, "Let's see how you hide now." He floated toward the dome, and the four symbols and the thundercloud beast followed closely behind. As for the soil in the sky, it was still floating, as if it was completely supported by a mysterious force. There was no way for it to fall down. Tang Jing landed on the dome, but it was silent and did not move. The corner of his mouth curled up, and he said meaningfully, "Looks like you still want to play hide and seek. But can you still hide?" "Master, I'll force them out." The four symbols volunteered. After saying that, Shan Tui stomped down. Bang! Debris flew everywhere, and a huge hole appeared. Whoosh! A beam of cold light shot out from the cave and hit the four symbols. The four symbols was not injured, but the huge force made him stagger and fall to the ground. This power actually caused the four symbols to fall to the ground, which showed how terrifying this power was. However, even so, the four symbols were not damaged at all. Lightning. The thundercloud beast quickly rushed forward. A bolt of lightning shot out from its body and disappeared into the cave. Crackle. A series of explosions came from the dome, but still, no one escaped. "Is it that satisfying to be a coward?" Tang Jing said disdainfully as he stomped on the dome. Kacha. The crack started from his feet and spread in all directions. Soon, they were filled with cracks. Clang. The dome shattered, but the fragments did not fall down. Instead, as if they had escaped the gravitational pull of the Earth's core, they slowly flew into the air. Everything under the dome was displayed in broad daylight. The group of people raised their heads and looked up in horror, which happened to fall into the eyes of a few people. Tang Zheng's eyes were like torches as he locked onto his target in the crowd. Hong Yan. Nana. Tang Zheng blurted out. Tang Zheng. Brother. Mu Hongyan and Nana's eyes lit up as they looked at Tang Zheng in surprise. Nana still had tears at the corner of her mouth. She wiped the corner of her eyes, pouted, and shouted with grievance, "Brother, you finally came to save us." Tang Zheng's face immediately became gloomy as he stared at the group of people with a gaze like lightning. Yi Xuanji. Long Xianyuan. The two of them stood beside Mu Hongyan and Nana. Yi Xuanji was in high spirits, as if he was 10 years younger, while Long Xianyuan was obviously much older, as if he was an old man in his 80s. After Long Xuanyuan's dantian was shattered, he no longer had any martial arts. His spirit and qi had completely declined, and he was like a walking corpse. However, the return of Mu Hongyan and Nana allowed him to regain his vitality, as if he had found his goal in life again. He was very clear about the importance of these two people to Tang Zheng, and naturally, they were also important to Ji Wuxiang. Therefore, Long Xianyuan did not hesitate to ignore the years of kinship and reported to Yi Xuanji, helping Yi Xuanji detain the two of them. Long Xuanyuan's goal was clear: he was unwilling to fail, and tried to use the method of betraying his family in exchange for Ji Wuxiang's trust. He believed that Ji Wuxiang would definitely have a way to let him be reborn. During this period of time, Ji Wuxiang's various methods could be said to be miraculous, causing a deep shock in Long Xuanyuan's heart. Therefore, he had an almost blind worship for Ji Wuxiang, believing that he was invincible, or even omnipotent. However, he did not expect the situation to change so quickly. Not long after he detained Mu Hongyan and her daughter, Tang Zheng actually came knocking on his door. The Long family's 100-year-old manor was destroyed in an instant. He did not have the time to feel heartache, nor did he feel heartache. Without martial arts, what was the use of this manor? Without a successor, the Long family was destined to decline. He might as well use everything to take a gamble. Thus, he led many people to hide in the underground dome. This was a fortress that the ancestors of the Long family had spent decades building. Back then, it was to avoid a nuclear war, so one could imagine how sturdy it was. Furthermore, the materials used to build it were very special, which could isolate it from the outside world. Furthermore, it was deep underground, which increased the difficulty of exploration. It was precisely because of this reason that even though Tang Zheng controlled the celestial chess, he did not completely investigate the situation underground. Looking at Tang Zheng standing in the air, that dazzling gaze made Long Xuanyuan's heart jump to his throat. Let them go. Tang Zheng roared, like a thunderbolt in the clear sky. The surrounding warriors seemed to be under great pressure, and retreated in all directions like a tide. Bang! Long Xuanyuan's legs went soft, and he directly knelt on the ground. He no longer had any martial arts, so how could he resist such pressure? His face was as pale as white paper, and he could not raise his head. Only Yi Xuanji was still bitterly holding on, and did not fall down for the time being. However, his legs were already trembling non-stop, and he could fall down at any time. Yi Xuanji clenched his teeth, and said with difficulty, Tang Zheng, don't be arrogant, the Lord will be back soon, and at that time, you won't be able to escape even if you have wings. Ji Wuxiang? Are you still counting on him? Let me tell you, he is already dead, and this celestial chess has already fallen into my hands. Tang Zheng sneered and said straightforwardly. Impossible. Yi Xuanji's face changed greatly, and he screamed in shock, the Lord has supreme divine abilities, how could he lose to you? Tang Zheng shook his head, he was helpless against Yi Xuanji's stubbornness, and said, whether you believe it or not, you can't change this result. Whether you let them go or not, it's not up to you. Pausing for a moment, Tang Zheng sternly berated, go to the side. With a wave of his hand, Yi Xuanji was sent flying, he did not even have the chance to resist. This was the power of the celestial chess. Under the celestial chess, every blade of grass and every tree was under Tang Zheng's control. Not to mention Yi Xuanji, even if it was an even stronger expert, Tang Zheng was not afraid at all. Chapter 1569. Yi Xuanji flew to the side, and no one could stop Tang Zheng's footsteps. He landed in front of the mother and daughter, while Long Xianyuan knelt at the side, not even having the strength to get up. "How are the two of you?" Tang Zheng hurriedly held Mu Hongyan's hand with one hand and Nana with the other, and asked with concern. Mu Hongyan did not care about her shyness, tightly held his hand, and excitedly nodded. "We are all fine, just..." She looked at Long Xianyuan on the ground, then touched her daughter's head and said, "It's just that Nana suffered quite a bit of shock." Tang Zheng thought for a moment, and immediately understood what was going on. For his own selfish interests, Long Xianyuan actually disregarded his family. This was especially harmful to the innocent and kind Nana, and it could be seen from the tears at the corner of her eyes. His heart trembled, and he stared at Long Xianyuan with a gaze as sharp as a knife, and said, "Long Xianyuan, are you still worthy of being her grandfather?" As Tang Zheng's voice increased, Long Xianyuan seemed to be seized by a terrifying force, and slowly flew up from the ground, gasping for breath like a cow, and his face was pale. "Grandpa." Seeing this, Nan Nan turned pale with fright and screamed. "Nana." Mu Hongyan hurriedly hugged her agitated daughter. The pain in her eyes was obvious. Even now, Nana was still so concerned about Long Xianyuan. A child's heart did not have so many dark things, only the purest of kinship. However, Long Xianyuan did not value this kinship at all, so Mu Hongyan was also heartbroken, and did not plead for Long Xianyuan at all. Long Xianyuan knew that he could not escape this calamity, and fiercely stared at Tang Zheng, gritted his teeth and said, "Tang Zheng, if you want to kill me, then kill me. The Long family was destroyed by your hands, especially the mother and daughter who were traitors of the Long family. I, Long Xianyuan, am ashamed to face my ancestors, and the Long family was destroyed just like that. Even at death's door, you still refuse to wake up. The Long family was not destroyed by them, but by you. As the patriarch of the Long family, you didn't even protect your own family and loved ones, and even betrayed them. Is there a need for such a Long family to exist?" Tang Zheng asked disdainfully. Long Xianyuan was stunned. He didn't know how to answer, but soon, he shook his head and shouted stubbornly, "No, it wasn't me, it was them who destroyed the Long family, it was them." His expression was ferocious as if he couldn't wait to kill the mother and daughter. Mu Hongyan stared blankly at him, tears flowing from her eyes. Her heart was in extreme pain as she choked out, "I didn't expect you to say that about us. Not to mention that I have worked hard in your Long family for so many years. Not only have I been bullied and suppressed, but I also have to support the Long family. Nana is your biological granddaughter. She has always treated you as her most respected relative, but you said this to her. She is still a child, how sad will she be? You are too heartless. In the past, I have never complained about the Long family, and I have never complained about you. I now realize that I was too naive." Her tears finished hanging on her cheeks. Nan Nan also began to cry as she tightly hugged Mu Hongyan. She sobbed and said, "Mommy, don't cry. In the future, Nan Nan will definitely be obedient and protect Mommy." Mu Hongyan also hugged her daughter tightly, wiped away the tears at the corner of her eyes, and then looked at Long Xianyuan. Long Xianyuan looked at her with a faint fear in his eyes. Suddenly, Mu Hongyan said firmly, "If you are not benevolent, then I don't need to talk about kinship with you, because you don't have this basic quality. Long Xianyuan, from today onwards, we mother and daughter have cut off all ties with the Long family. From now on, we have no relationship with the Long family." Mu Hongyan clenched her teeth to have the strength to finish speaking. After speaking, she felt her entire body relax, as if a large stone had been lifted from the bottom of her heart. These words were like a bolt of lightning that streaked across the bottom of Long Xuanyuan's heart, and he was instantly stunned. Mu Hongyan had never refuted him, and had always been resigned to it. But now, she actually dared to say such things to him, and he was deeply shocked. For a moment, he couldn't react. Tang Jing didn't say a word, and quietly watched Mu Hongyan explode. She had too many things in her heart. If she didn't explode, not only would it hurt her body and mind, it would also have a huge impact and hidden danger on her future cultivation. Of course, he couldn't just sit back and watch. He might as well let her explode in one go and solve all the problems left behind by history. Tang Jing gently hugged her, like a peaceful harbor, giving Mu Hongyan a great sense of security. She took the opportunity to lean on Tang Jing's chest, ignoring the gazes of others. When Long Xianyuan saw this scene, he seemed to have been greatly stimulated. He struggled fiercely and stretched out his hands to grab the mother and daughter. However, he was firmly bound by Tang Jing's power and couldn't struggle at all. He could only scream hysterically, "If you want to leave the Long family, you have to die. No, even if you die, you can't. You were born as a member of the Long family, and you will die as a ghost of the Long family. Mother, I'm scared." Nana saw this scene and quickly hid in Mu Hongyan's arms, trembling in fear. Tang Jing's eyes darkened, and patted Mu Hongyan's body, and said, "You two leave first, I will take care of things here. Thunder Cloud Beast, take them away." The Thunder Cloud Beast shook its body and turned into a small fellow, like a pet. It drilled into Nana's arms and cried out in a fawning manner, looking extremely cute. Nana was immediately attracted by the Thunder Cloud Beast's charmingly naive appearance. She stopped crying and hugged the Thunder Cloud Beast tightly. Mu Hongyan looked at Tang Jing gratefully, knowing that he was protecting the mother and daughter. As for Long Xuanyuan's life and death, she didn't care. She believed that Tang Jing could handle it well. "Nana, let's go." Mu Hongyan carried her daughter and soared into the sky like a dragon. She flew up from the ruins and flew far away. Long Xianyuan watched them leave in confusion, then looked at Tang Jing aggressively and shouted, "Why did you tell them to leave? What qualifications do you have to do that?" Tang Jing immediately frowned, killing Bai Lu. He stared at Long Xianyuan without blinking, and said, "Long Xianyuan, even now, you are still stubborn and do not know how to repent. If you continue to live like this, I don't know how much harm you will cause to the mother and daughter. I will never allow this to happen. Tang Jing, do you think I don't know what you're thinking? You're so protective of Mu Hongyan, isn't it because you covet that woman, Mu Hongyan? Don't think I don't know about the dirty things you two have done. Enough." Suddenly, Tang Jing roared, "Hongyan is my woman, I won't allow you to slander her like this. Originally, I had let you go for Nana's sake, but it's obvious that you don't cherish these things. Since that's the case, then go to hell." As soon as he finished speaking, Long Xianyuan felt as if he was struck by lightning. That monstrous killing intent and anger made him unable to breathe. He finally knew fear. He didn't want to die. Then, he didn't even have the chance to beg for mercy, because he couldn't say a single word. A terrifying force pressed down on his neck, bit by bit, and he widened his eyes. Ka-cha! With a crisp sound, his neck broke, and he completely lost his breath. Chapter 1570. Long Xianyuan never thought that he would die like this. He still had a grand plan that he had yet to complete, but it had all turned into smoke. Yi Xuanji laid in the distance and watched this scene. His eyelids twitched, but he did not have any intense emotions. Long Xuanyuan's life and death had nothing to do with him. Although the two of them had known each other for decades, Yi Xuanji, who insisted on this belief, would naturally remain indifferent. However, Yi Xuanji was already afraid in his heart. Would he follow in Long Xuanyuan's footsteps? Tang Jing's gaze turned and locked onto Yi Xuanji. Their eyes met, and Yi Xuanji's heart beat violently, as if it was about to jump out of his chest. Tang Jing's heart moved slightly. He had already seen through Yi Xuanji's thoughts, and walked towards him step by step. Yi Xuanji hurriedly got up and retreated in a sorry state. He kept waving his hands and said in panic, "What do you want?" As he spoke, he retreated step by step. Tang Jing pressed on. The distance between the two of them closed. In fact, Yi Xuanji was very clear that he had no way of escaping from Tang Zhang's hands. This was a deathbed struggle. However, he was unwilling. He did not want to sit still and wait for death. Seeing that Tang Zhang was right in front of him, he suddenly leaped up, the star power from all directions gathered in his hand, and he suddenly released his palm. Toppling mountains and overturning seas. The star power surged towards Tang Zhang. Tang Zhang's expression was calm, waiting for the star power to rush in front of him. He still did not move at all. Yi Xuanji was secretly delighted. However, in the next second, his face turned ashen. He saw that the star power that could topple mountains and overturn seas was like a broken mirror. With a clang, it shattered in midair. Suddenly, the shattered star power actually transformed into a lion in midair. It was speckled with stars, as if it was real. Roar! The lion opened its mouth and roared. A gust of strong wind gushed out from its mouth and wrapped around Yi Xuanji. He was like a cannonball, rushing into the air and fiercely falling down. Tang Jing grabbed Yi Xuanji with his big hand. Yi Xuanji struggled but still flew into Tang Zhang's hand. He looked at Yi Xuanji coldly and said, "Yi Xuanji, back then I didn't do anything to you out of consideration for Ding Dong's family of 3, but you still refused to realize your mistake. It seems that you old fogies are all stubborn people. Since that's the case, there's no need for me to continue being merciful. Otherwise, who knows when you'll go against me again in the future." His voice became colder and colder. Yi Xuanji felt as if he had fallen into a 10,000-year-old ice cave. His heart was as cold as ice and he began to shiver. Yi Xuanji, who was not afraid of anything, finally knew fear. "You really killed the High Lord?" Tang Jing smiled and said, "Why would I lie to you? If he were still alive, would he still be able to sit idly by and do nothing when such a big thing happened in Dianan?" Yi Xuanji's heart dimmed. He knew that Tang Zhang's words made sense. He has already died in the 100,000 mountains. That is his final destination. You remnants of him still don't know how to repent. What awaits you will be the same as his. Tang Zhang said resolutely and decisively. His gaze swept across the people present. They all lowered their heads, not daring to look at Tang Zhang. Without a doubt, the imposing Tang Zhang was not someone they could fight against. The original confidence in their hearts was crumbling bit by bit. Ji Wuxiang's death was the last straw. They were in complete despair. Yi Xuanji was also in despair. Ji Wuxiang was his biggest support. Now that Ji Wuxiang was dead, what else could he do? But his dignity made him not want to admit defeat like this. Especially since he had known Tang Zhang for so long and witnessed his rise. But in his heart, the image of Tang Zhang still remained. It seemed that he did not want to look at Tang Zhang with the eyes of the times. Naturally, he did not want Tang Zhang to suppress him. Yi Xuanji gradually raised his head and said, "Although the High Lord is dead, we still have so many people. Dianan is a paradise for martial artists. They can create a career here and fight against you cultivators." Tang Zhang shook his head regretfully. He was really stubborn. Since that was the case, then he would kill him. He closed his 5 fingers. Yi Xuanji was immediately unable to speak. Blood could not be supplied to his brain. As a result, his face became extremely pale and his breathing gradually weakened. Suddenly, the image of Ding Dong's family of 3 jumped into his mind. The strength of his 5 fingers could not help but loosen. Yi Xuanji was given a chance to breathe. He greedily took in large mouthfuls of air, but his eyes were full of ridicule and provocation when he looked at Tang Zhang. Tang Zhang's eyes darkened. He understood a principle. Yi Xuanji was the same as Long Xianyuan in his bones. They were both stubborn people. Moreover, for the sake of himself or the benefit of his family, he would do anything. He would even sacrifice everything for his family. This kind of person was not only a scourge to himself. Perhaps, in the future, he would also cause harm to Yi Dingdang's family of 3. Even so, he might as well let him be the bad guy. After his heart was settled, his gaze became firm. Yi Xuanji, who had just gotten a chance to breathe, was suddenly startled. He looked at Tang Zheng with a dazed expression. Someone as quick-witted as him could see some clues from Tang Zheng's eyes. You. His mind trembled. Just as he was about to speak, before he could finish a word, Tang Zheng's 5 fingers fiercely hit the contract. Kacha. Yi Xuanji followed in Long Xuanyuan's footsteps. His head tilted, and he lost his life. From then on, only the Yan family was left among the several great families. The 100-year-old family had fallen here, completely eliminated in the long river of history. When the other martial artists saw this scene, they did not dare to resist. They all knelt on the ground and begged Tang Zheng for mercy. Tang Zheng did not look at them. He did not have any big plans for these martial artists, but he was not prepared to start a massacre. It was enough to get rid of evil. There was no point in killing more. I don't care what you did in the past. From now on, let go of everything in the past. You can peacefully cultivate and live in the land of Dianan. No one will make things difficult for you or hurt you. But if there is someone who is stubborn, I don't need to say anything. You know what will happen. Do you hear me? Tang Zheng's voice was not loud, but the martial artists heard it like thunder. They all nodded like they were pounding garlic and could not wait to agree. For symbols, let's go. Tang Zheng slowly rose into the air and flew out of the crater. For symbols leaped and landed on the edge of the crater like a cannonball, splashing up dust into the air. Under the setting sun, in the distance, 2 figures, one big and one small, stood quietly with their backs to him. However, looking at these 2 figures, his heart was incomparably calm. The killing intent from before completely disappeared and turned into tenderness. He quickened his pace and walked over. When the 2 heard the footsteps, they turned around. Nana had no more tears. Like a little angel, she flew into his arms. Mu Hongyan smiled faintly and looked at Tang Zheng affectionately. Her eyes were filled with happiness and complete relief. Chapter 1571. Without Ji Wuxiang in Dianan, the leader was also gone, leaving behind a group of warriors who were in a state of panic. Is almost equal to Tang Zheng did not care about this mess, and brought the few of them on the somersault cloud, and flew back to the capital. After a few days, the few people in the capital were extremely worried, and had been paying attention to the situation in Dianan. However, Dianan was an iron bucket, and there was no way for the news to spread. But vaguely, many people still understood that something earth-shattering must have happened in Dianan. Although the few of them believed in Tang Zheng's strength, they were still worried in their hearts. After all, Ji Wuxiang's strength was unquestionable. When they saw their triumphant return, the few of them finally heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts, and immediately began to ask questions at the same time. When they found out about the earth-shattering event in Dianan, everyone fell into silence. After Yi Dingdang heard that Tang Zheng had died, she was silent for a while, then looked deeply at Tang Zheng, and held his hand in front of everyone's eyes, and said, Tang Zheng, don't take it to heart, this is his own choice, it's not your fault. Tang Zheng did not expect her to comfort him in turn, and was moved in his heart, saying, as long as you don't blame me, it's fine. I don't have any kinship with him in the first place. As for my father, I believe that after experiencing so much, he already understands who is the one who is truly good to our family of 3. Yi Xuanji was indeed not good to Yi Dingdang's family of 3, and did not fulfill his responsibility. Instead, once there were benefits, he would use them, causing Yi Dingdang to be dissatisfied. Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief, and said, even if he blames me, I won't have any complaints, and I won't regret doing so. The others were even more immersed in Ji Wuxiang's actions. The heavenly chess he created actually had such great power, creating a country within a country, a world where only warriors could cultivate. Marshall and the others, who were also warriors, were filled with emotions. They had all learned how to absorb the power of the stars, and were even more clear that after obtaining the power of the stars, their cultivation would undergo earth-shattering changes. Marshall's eyes gradually lit up. She had been trying to find a way to help Tang Zheng. This way, she would also have her own position among the women. Tang Zheng, since those warriors are dragons, now is the best time for us to reorganize them. Marshall's voice deepened, and said solemnly. Tang Zheng looked at her with admiration. Her vision was very unique, it was just that he did not have the energy to do so. If they are free for a long time, then they might not. Future of affairs. After all, in an environment where the power of the stars is abundant, the growth of a martial artist's cultivation is not slower than that of a cultivator's. Marshall said worriedly. Tang Zheng nodded his head in relief. Marshall was able to foresee this point, and when Marshall saw Tang Zheng's encouraging eyes, she knew that he was encouraging her to continue speaking, so she continued, I have the confidence to recruit this group of warriors. Not only will they not become a factor of chaos, but they will also become a great help to us. Pausing for a moment, she continued to organize her words and said, back then, Yan Qingyi predicted that the end of the world would appear, but it hasn't appeared yet. I don't know if it's true or not, but looking at Yan Qingyi's situation, I believe that it's true. Then what will happen in the future that will cause such serious consequences? We can't predict it for the time being, but if we have enough strength, even if such a situation really happens, we have enough strength to stop it all. Martial artists can use their strength in such a situation. Taking 10,000 steps back, if the people of the sky beyond heaven were to invade our world, then our world would have another force to fight back, don't you think so? Marshall said everything that he wanted to say in one breath, and then looked at Tang Zheng with a burning gaze. The others were also interested by what she said, and looked at her with bright eyes. These words were indeed meaningful and not without reason. Marshall, your idea is very good. I raise both hands in agreement. Tang Zheng smiled and deliberately raised both of his hands. Seeing this, the others all nodded in agreement. Li Xiaotian looked at her thoughtfully, thinking that Marshall was really smart, to actually grab hold of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. However, she did not have any other thoughts. She had the Li Palace in her hands, and the intelligence of the Li Palace was not weak either. Furthermore, the intelligence system was not something that others could casually compare to. Moreover, once the southern Yunnan became a martial artist's paradise, the Li Palace would also move their headquarters into the southern Yunnan, forming a situation where one was in the light and the other was in the dark. The Li Palace would be able to hide in the dark, making all schemes and plots unable to hide. Even if Ji Wuxiang's remnants had any tricks up their sleeves, it would be difficult for them to make a difference. Only one point, the disciples of the Li Palace had not yet learned how to absorb the power of the stars, and this point had fallen into the hands of Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng glanced at the few of them, his gaze lingering on the bodies of the few martial artists, and said, in the past, I did not really announce the method for martial artists to absorb the power of the stars to the outside world, but now that Ji Wuxiang is dead, this point is very necessary. Everyone's heart was moved, they had already more or less guessed Tang Zheng's idea. Tang Zheng continued, so, I will announce this secret. Ji Wuxiang had always hidden this secret, trying to use this point to control the martial artists under him. But I do not need to worry about this, no matter if the martial artist is my enemy or my friend, they will all benefit from it, even if there is a provocative madman. I will not be afraid. He was full of confidence, he indeed had the ability to say such words, no one objected. On the contrary, everyone nodded slightly, directly acknowledging this point. Yi Dingdang excitedly said, this way, the strength of the martial artists in the world will also be stronger. In the future, even if the sky beyond sky threatens this world, the martial artists can also provide a helping hand. As a martial artist, Yi Dingdang's strength had always not improved as quickly as the cultivators, especially when Fang Shishir started at the same time as her. In fact, Fang Shishir started slightly later than her. Their relationship with Tang Zheng was also the earliest. Now that Fang Shishir had the careful guidance of Tian Chanzi, her cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds, she had already left Yi Dingdang behind. Although Yi Dingdang did not say it in her heart, she also did not keep mentioning this issue. After all, her skills were not as good as others, how could she have the nerve to ask for humiliation? However, it was different this time. Martial artists actually had their own paradise, and the rise of martial artists was unstoppable. Naturally, her strength would rise with the tide, and her status and authority among the women would increase day by day. Then the task of spreading this news will be handed over to Lee Palace. In addition, this news about the power of the stars will be announced in Dianan, so martial artists who want to know this news must go to Dianan. Tang Jing thoughtfully made a change. Chapter 1572. The martial artists went to Dianan. Not only Li Xiaotian and Wu, but even Yi Dingdang couldn't help but go to Dianan. There was no need to worry too much about the situation in Dianan, so Tang Jing put his thoughts on other things. However, he did not expect that the news about the martial warriors that he announced would cause such a huge reaction. He had no time to do anything else, and the Yen family had already come knocking on his door. The 3 generations of the Yen family had come together, so it was obviously very grand. After the few of them sat down, Yen Padian stammered for a long time, but he didn't know how to open his mouth. Ever since the incident with Yen Qingyi, the 2 sides no longer had the same tacit understanding as before, and an invisible barrier had been created. Now, the Yen family was filled with regret. If not for this matter, the Yen family would have definitely benefited a lot from it and would not have been as awkward as it was now. The Yen family was one of the only remaining large families. Although Tang Jing did not target them, when the news of southern Yunnan becoming a martial artist's paradise was announced, the impact on the Yen family was not small. The Yen family were all warriors, and this was also the key to ensuring that the Yen family would not fall. However, after the other martial warriors went to southern Yunnan, their strength would increase by leaps and bounds, and the Yen family's advantage over the other martial warriors would disappear. In time, the decline of the Yen family was inevitable. This was because after these martial warriors became stronger, they would also establish their own family, and would inevitably compete with the Yen family. Then, the Yen family would be slowly defeated, and it would not be long before the sun set in the west. The entire Yen family felt a strong sense of crisis, so they could not sit still. A few people came together to visit Tang Jing. Tang Jing's thoughts were sharp, looking at Yen Potion's stammering appearance, as well as Yen Qishan and Yen Liuyan's extremely unnatural state. He guessed their intentions. Cough cough. He lightly coughed twice, interrupting Yen Potion's words. The 3 of them looked nervously at Tang Jing, afraid that he would say something that would reject them. The 3 of you, we are all old acquaintances, so there is no need to be so secretive. I have already guessed your intentions. You must be here for the matter of southern Yunnan, right? Tang Jing's words revealed their purpose, and they could not help but relax. The most difficult words to say were spoken by Tang Jing himself, making them feel much more relaxed. However, the hearts of the 3 of them were also in suspense. If Tang Jing rejected them, then it would be difficult for them to say another word. Then the Yen family's path in the future. Yen Padian said resentfully, young Master Tang's fiery eyes, our goal is indeed unable to escape your eyes. Southern Yunnan has become a warrior's paradise, and their cultivation will soar. As martial artists, we naturally want to experience it so that we can have greater achievements. Tang Jing smiled faintly, and gradually understood the thoughts of the Yen family. He was also very clear about their worries and the current situation they were facing, and couldn't help but ponder. The 3 members of the Yen family all looked nervously at Tang Jing, afraid that he would say the word no. Finally, Tang Jing slowly opened his mouth and said, if you are willing, you can go to southern Yunnan. The 3 of them immediately revealed expressions of relief. Their smiles blossomed from the bottom of their hearts, and their tightly clenched fists were sweating profusely. Thank you, young Master Tang. Yen Padian sincerely thanked him, and could not help but feel ashamed of his inferiority. Young Master Tang's level of thinking was far from what he could compare to, and he was actually worried that young Master Tang would reject him. However, Tang Jing suddenly changed the topic, and the smiles of the 3 immediately froze as they looked at him nervously. But isn't your Yen family's foundation in the capital? If you go to southern Yunnan, what will happen to your foundation? Tang Zheng asked curiously. The Yen family's so-called going to southern Yunnan was not just going there for a few days, but was truly settling down in southern Yunnan. Although Yen Padian did not say it out loud, Tang Zheng had already understood. The Yen family's 100 years of foundation was all in the capital, and this was a huge blow. That was why Tang Zheng had such a question. Yen Padian heaved a sigh of relief. He thought that Tang Zheng would go back on his word, but it turned out to be this matter. Actually, before they came, the Yen family had already discussed it. They were very clear about the consequences of going to southern Yunnan. However, in the end, they unanimously decided that they had to take this risk. Moreover, what they would gain in the future would be more than what they would lose. Therefore, this deal was very worth it. Yen Padian replied, "Thank you, young Master Tang, for being so considerate for us. However, we have come to the same conclusion. The foundation of the Yen family is not only those dead things, but also the people of the Yen family. This is the foundation of the Yen family's 100 years of existence. As long as the Yen family is still here, then the Yen family can create even more glory." Tang Zheng's eyes lit up. Yen Potion's eyes were very unique, he actually saw this point. In fact, in Tang Zheng's eyes, those industries and other dead things were not as important as people. Therefore, he did not pay too much attention to the industries under his name. He cared more about the people by his side. With people, he could have other things. People were the foundation, and people were the foundation. Only then could he truly create an immortal foundation. Heroes think alike. The Yen family's point of view was the same as his. No wonder they could become the only surviving family. Then I don't object to you going to South Yunnan. Tang Zheng reiterated his attitude. The three members of the Yen family heaved a sigh of relief. They were all grateful to Tang Zheng for not falling out with the Yen family because of Yen Qingyi. Before leaving, Yen Padian hesitated for a moment and said, "Young Master Tang, the next time I see Qingyi, I will definitely advise her not to go against young Master Tang." Tang Zheng smiled, but did not comment. Yen Qingyi was not someone that could be persuaded by ordinary people. He did not know to what extent she had comprehended the heavenly Tao and what kind of actions she would take. Looking at the Yen family leaving in a hurry, Tang Zheng fell into deep thought. After a long time, he slowly shook his head and did not think about this problem. Because this problem was temporarily unsolvable. As for the Yen family's exhibition in South Yunnan, he was not worried at all. Li Xiaotian, Wu, and the others had already gone to South Yunnan to make arrangements, and the heavenly chess was still under the control of Tang Zheng. It was absolutely impossible for the Yen family to overturn the heavens in South Yunnan. With Yen Potion's intelligence, he would definitely not do such a stupid thing. Therefore, he was not worried. Right now, the capital had truly become Tang Zheng's base camp. The officials had already chosen to turn a blind eye to it, and there were no martial artists to fight against him. In fact, there was no one or power in this world that dared to make an enemy out of him. His gaze involuntarily landed on the sky beyond heaven. I wonder how Xiao Bai and the others are doing in the sky beyond heaven. He had promised Xiao Bai that he would send the Scarlet Moon Beast and the others over. Now was the time. Just as this thought appeared in his mind, his heart suddenly moved, and an ominous premonition attacked him. His heart trembled as he cursed inwardly. With a thought, his divine sense dived into the dragon seal. His body was like a puppet, standing motionless in place. Chapter 1573. Inside the dragon seal, a few figures broke through the void and sneaked in. However, these were only spiritual senses because their bodies could not enter the Langya pavilion. They looked around in surprise. Their eyes lit up one after another, revealing greedy gazes. This is the world inside the dragon seal. We didn't have the chance to come here in the past. I didn't expect it to be like this, one of them said in amazement. The others could not hide their surprise and nodded one after another. Although we sacrificed a companion, he actually brought us to this place. He really died a worthy death. Ha ha ha, if we could have found this place earlier, it wouldn't have mattered if a few more of us died, someone echoed. Obviously, in their hearts, the lives of their companions were not worth much. For higher benefits, they could sacrifice them. Who were these people? Of course, they were the dragon slayers. Other than the dragons, they were the only people who had entered the world inside the dragon's seal. Speaking of which, this was completely a coincidence. Back then, when the dragon slayers were fighting with the dragons, they coincidentally entered this world. When this dragon slayers died at the hands of Tangjing, the other dragon slayers found some clues. Then, they spent a lot of effort and energy to finally follow this clue and found the secret of the dragon seal. From then on, the dragon seal was no longer a secret to the dragon slayers. They could not enter this place on their own, but they could capture a dragon and enter through it. In the great wide world, the dragon slayers did not need to spend too much effort to find the dragons. Therefore, this world was completely open to them. The dragon slayers looked around with shining eyes and clicked their tongues in wonder. It was as if they had walked into the Grand View Garden. Of course, the greed in their hearts was infinitely stimulated. Why is there a fog in front of us? They did not reach the Langya Pavilion or the inverted Langya Pavilion. They were only in the fog. This was where the dragon slayers and the dragons could not be compared. When the dragons entered this place, they would be directly teleported to the front of the Langya Pavilion. As for the dragon slayers, they came in by accident and landed in a random place. This time, they landed in this fog. There was a large amount of fog between the two Langya pavilions, and their vision was very blurry. Therefore, they did not see anything at all just now. However, based on their innate perception of the dragon souls, they had already found some clues. This place had a large number of dragon souls. In the past, we've always thought that the most powerful dragon souls of the dragon clan did not fall into our hands. After all, when we first arrived at the dragon clan's graveyard, although we also captured a large number of dragon souls, it was still quite far from what we expected. Now, it seems that our judgment was right. The dragon race is cunning and has long since transferred the truly powerful dragon soul. A dragon slayer's eyes flickered as he spoke. The other dragon slayers nodded and said, "The dragon race is really cunning. They played a trick on us, making us mistakenly think that we have already captured all of those dragon souls." Ha ha ha, but the dragon clan would never have thought that no matter where the dragon's soul was hidden, it would not be able to escape the pursuit of us dragon slayers. Look, we can now wipe out all those dragon souls. Once I absorb those dragon souls, my cultivation will advance by leaps and bounds. Just thinking about it is wonderful. The few of them revealed looks of longing. The greed in their eyes grew stronger and stronger, unable to be concealed at all. Let's go and find the dragon soul. The few of them were unable to fly and could only move forward in the fog. The direction they were heading towards was not the Langya Pavilion, but the inverted Langya Pavilion where countless dragon souls were buried. Obviously, they had an innate sense and detection ability towards the dragon soul. Whoosh! Suddenly, there was a slight sound of air being torn apart in the fog. Although it was almost inaudible, it did not escape the dragon slayers' ears. Their expressions turned cold, and they reached out to grab at the void. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Waves of surging power surged out from their palms and transformed into claws. These claws were very similar to dragon claws and were covered with thick scales like steel. Bang! With a muffled sound, the air wave tore apart a cloud of fog. The dragon slayers were not injured, but were surprised by this attack. They all raised their spirits at the same time and shouted loudly, "Who is it? Who dares to sneak attack the dragon slayers?" No one answered. The dragon slayers looked at each other and revealed a look of contempt as they said, "It must be one of the dragon souls, right? Hee hee, it's your bad luck to bump into us. You don't want to make a sound, right? Playing hide and seek with us. Hee hee, for so many years, who knows how many dragons have played this trick with us, but without exception, they all lost their lives in the end. Sense the dragon souls. The dragon slayers let out a low roar and immediately used their divine ability to sense the location of the dragon souls. However, they did sense the existence of dragon souls very far away, but there was not a single dragon soul in the surrounding area. Strange. That attack clearly came from nearby. How could there not be any dragon souls? Other than the dragon slayers, there were only dragons here. There were no dragon souls, so who was attacking them? The few of them looked at each other and revealed a look of shock. They could not figure out what was going on. Whoosh! Another sound of air being torn apart flew over. The attack clearly came from nearby. The dragon slayers were shocked. The enemy was clearly nearby, but they could not sense it at all. This was the first time in thousands of years that this had happened. Attack! The few of them cooperated very well. A few claws flew out, but they missed. A surge of surging power flew from behind and struck their backs. The few of them were shocked at the same time. They quickly turned around to counterattack, but it was already too late. One of the dragon slayers was directly penetrated by this surge of power. Boom! With an explosion, the dragon slayer's soul scattered and dissipated in the fog. The dragon slayers scattered in all directions. They were really shocked by this attack. Their own people could not even withstand a single blow, and their souls were scattered. This was too strange, something that had never happened before. Get out here, you dare to kill us dragon slayers. You are dead meat. I will skin you, stupid dragon, pull out your tendons, and tear your body into pieces. I will also torture your dragon soul and make you suffer endless pain. The dragon slayers stomped their feet and cursed. This kind of situation was rare, especially in a confrontation with the dragon race. The dragon slayers had always firmly held the upper hand. How could they be in such a sorry state like this? Tang Zheng was hiding in the fog. Ever since he entered the dragon seal, he discovered the whereabouts of these dragon slayers. He was not in a hurry to show himself. The dragon slayers were very powerful, especially when there were a few of them together. He knew that he might not be able to gain the upper hand in a direct confrontation. Thus, he cleverly adopted a roundabout tactic, using the fog as a cover to launch a sneak attack. The truth proved that after probing once, the sneak attack was very successful. Chapter 1574. Tang Zheng's lips curled into a smile as he listened to the dragon slayer's curses. Ever since he killed the dragon slayers twice in the past, he was no longer so fearful of them. The dragon slayers were not undefeatable. As long as he was strong enough and found the right method, he could also kill the dragon slayers in one strike. Of course, he was also shocked that so many dragon slayers had entered this world this time. He knew that from now on, the Langya Pavilion would probably never have a day of peace. This was an unsolvable problem. Once the dragon slayers discovered this secret, it would definitely spread among the dragon slayers. Then, he would not be able to avoid all of this. The only thing he could do was to rely on the magical power taught by the dragon seniors to monitor the Langya Pavilion's movements in real time. Once the dragon slayers arrived, he would know immediately and quickly attack. However, it was just a few dragon slayers this time. What if there were many dragon slayers here in the future? Could he still deal with them? He did not know the answer. He only knew that he had to get rid of these guys in front of him immediately. Otherwise, the Langya Pavilion would be turned upside down by them now. The dragon slayers shouted for a long time, but there was no reply. They knew that this was troublesome. The other party was not an impatient guy. Insults would not be able to provoke him and make him appear. However, the dragon slayers were puzzled. Their method of sensing the dragon's soul was a tried and tested method. Why did it not work on this guy? The other party was clearly in the surrounding fog. Why couldn't they sense him? We can't just sit here and wait for death. He's hiding in this fog. Why don't we split this fog apart? Let's see how he can hide. In the end, the dragon slayers discussed a countermeasure and immediately took action. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. One by one, the claws tore through the air, tearing the mist apart like pieces of thin paper. The fog dissipated, revealing everything in the surroundings. The dragon slayers widened their eyes, trying to find the dragon who launched the sneak attack. However, to everyone's disappointment, they did not see a single figure from the dragon clan. Where did he go? They looked at each other. They were really confused. Whoosh! An air-piercing sound descended from the sky. Pooh! One of the dragon slayers was hit and exploded. His soul scattered, and he followed in the footsteps of his companion. In the sky, the other dragon slayers finally realized something and shouted. In mid-air, the dragon slayer stood on the somersault cloud. With the cover of the somersault cloud, he successfully avoided the detection of the dragon slayer and successfully launched another sneak attack. Of course, this also exposed his whereabouts. However, this gave the dragon slayers quite a fright. This was because when the dragon slayer arrived at this place, he realized that he couldn't fly at all. He could only rely on his 2 feet to walk on the ground. But this guy could actually ride the clouds and ride the mist. This was completely superior to them. The high and mighty dragon slayers had never put the dragon race in their eyes. They had only treated the dragon race as their food. Now that they had been defeated by their food, one could imagine how they felt. The most important thing was that they had entered this world with their divine sense. They couldn't even bring in their Dharma treasures, which restricted their waving and strength even more. The dragon slayer pointed at Tang Zheng and roared, "Dragon brat, who the hell are you? You dared to launch a sneak attack on us. In a while, we'll absorb your dragon's soul and make you die very, very miserably." Although the dragon slayer's roar was very loud, they were very anxious. This was because they realized that they could only watch as the other party stood on the somersault cloud. They couldn't sense his presence at all. Could it be that he's not from the dragon race, so he doesn't have a dragon soul? That's why he successfully escaped our detection, a dragon slayer mumbled doubtfully. If he's not from the dragon race, then how can he come to this place? Another dragon slayer immediately retorted. Aren't we here too? Can he be compared to us? Regarding Tang Zheng's identity, the dragon slayers had different opinions, and there was no definite answer. However, there was no doubt that this was a troublesome opponent. We can't just sit and wait for death. We have to counterattack. But he's in mid-air. We don't have any Dharma treasures. How can we counterattack? I have an idea. There are many dragon souls in this place. Once we find these dragon souls and absorb them, our strength will improve by leaps and bounds. At that time, we may have a way to deal with this brat. That's right. We just have to be careful of his attacks. Everyone, listen up. Don't be disrupted by him. Our target is the dragon soul. The dragon slayers understood tacitly and revealed excited expressions. They glared hatefully at Tang Zheng, who was in the sky, and then used their mystiques to sense the dragon souls. As expected, they immediately found something. They had already sensed the strong aura of the dragon soul, and it was not far ahead. Let's go. They chose their target, increased their speed, and sprinted in the direction of the inverted Langya pavilion. Tang Zheng was shocked. He did not expect the dragon slayers to leave him behind and ignore him. Instead, they were sprinting. Oh no. Tang Zheng looked up and was shocked. This was because he had already guessed the dragon slayers' intentions. We definitely can't let them reach the inverted Langya pavilion. Tang Zheng gritted his teeth and activated the somersault cloud. With a whoosh, the somersault cloud chased after them. The somersault cloud's speed was naturally faster than the dragon slayers. Therefore, it caught up with them in an instant. An air-piercing sound descended from the sky. The dragon slayer warriors had been on full alert the entire time. When they heard the sound of the air being torn apart, they immediately reacted and dodged in all directions. They did not have any intention of fighting head-on and easily dodged Tang Zheng's attack. Tang Zheng's expression darkened. Damn it. Their goal is clear. They actually don't want to tangle with me. Somersault Cloud, stop them. After a slight hesitation, he immediately reacted. The Somersault Cloud landed in front of the dragon slayers and forcibly blocked their path. The two sides really faced each other. The dragon slayers came to a sudden stop and stared at Tang Jing fiercely. Who are you? The dragon slayers asked first. A member of the dragon tribe. Tang Jing did not say his name. Ever since he fused with the dragon bone, he had truly become a member of the dragon tribe. Therefore, he was not wrong. You're really a member of the dragon tribe? The dragon slayers were shocked. Previously, they had been wondering about Tang Jing's identity. When they heard the words, member of the dragon tribe, from his mouth, it was obvious how shocked they were. Then why can't we sense your dragon soul? The dragon slayers asked. Tang Jing had a general answer to this question. Perhaps it was because he was originally a human and also a celestial. Only after cultivating the dragon god art did he slowly become a member of the dragon race. There was a certain difference between him and a true dragon. This was why the dragon slayers could not sense him at all. Chapter 1575. Tang Jing's attack was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of them. He used his hand as a sword and sword chi soared into the sky. He drew in front of his chest and a yin and yang fish was formed. They spun and flew towards the dragon slayers. The dragon slayers' expressions were stern. They truly felt the danger. They roared and moved at the same time. With a flash of their figures, they disappeared from where they were. In the next second, they were already in close combat with Tang Jing. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. This was the power of the claws. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. This was the sound of the wind caused by the yin and yang fish. Boom boom boom. The two sides clashed and disappeared. The dragon slayers arrived in front of Tang Jing. A few pairs of hands grabbed at the various parts of Tang Jing's body. They cooperated very well and divided the work. Their power increased greatly. Tang Jing used his hand as a sword and directly swung it. Sharp sword chi rippled from his arm. His arm became extremely sharp. It was really like a treasure sword that could cut through iron like mud. Pooh! The air was cut open. The hand sword hit the claws. With a loud clang, both hands were actually repelled. In this attack, both sides were actually not at a disadvantage. They were evenly matched. Instantly, Tang Jing had a rough estimate of the dragon slayer's strength. These few dragon slayers' cultivation was definitely not lower than his. They were probably even higher than him. It was just that in this world, they couldn't use their full strength. Although he was also restricted to a certain extent, it definitely wasn't as much as the dragon slayers. I'll hold him back. You guys go and find the dragon soul. One of the dragon slayers shouted and rushed over fiercely. The other dragon slayers understood. They all rushed to the side, trying to avoid Tang Jing. Stop! Tang Jing roared and quickly chased. However, the dragon slayers in front of him didn't give him a chance and quickly blocked him. Both sides exploded into an intense battle. This gave the other dragon slayers a chance to escape. Somersault Cloud, stop them, Tang Jing ordered. With a whoosh, the somersault cloud appeared in front of a dragon slayer. The dragon slayer grabbed at empty air. The somersault cloud was, in essence, a cloud. Hence, it was useless for the dragon slayer to tear it apart. On the contrary, this dragon slayer was delayed because of this fight. This was completely a drop in the bucket. The other dragon slayers took the opportunity to slip away. Ah! Screams suddenly rang out. Tang Jing was incomparably anxious. These screams did not mean that the dragon slayers had met with some mishap, but that they were stepping on air. They were only one step away from the inverted dragon slayer. As long as they landed on the ground, they would immediately discover that place, and so many dragon soul would be killed by them. At the thought of this, Tang Jing felt as if a heavy burden had been placed on his shoulders, making it hard for him to breathe. No, I have to stop them. However, the dragon slayer in front of him saw Tang Jing's anxious expression and said proudly, "No matter who you are, you can't stop all of this. The dragon clan will always be the prey of us dragon slayers. You want to make a comeback? Humph, your end will be very miserable." After saying this, his attacks became even more fierce, not giving Tang Jing a chance to catch his breath. Then let's see who will end up more miserable. Tang Jing simply gave up on using his sword technique. Because he did not have the hidden sword, the power of his sword technique was greatly reduced, and could not cause a one-hit kill effect to the opponent. Last time, I used the sky-swallowing technique to deal with that invading dragon slayer. Now, I will use the same method to deal with him. Thus, he pushed out his large hand flatly and faced the dragon slayer's claw. The dragon slayer was overjoyed. Could it be that this brat was confused by anger? He actually gave up on a more threatening mystical power and used this small trick. The few strikes just now had indeed caused quite a lot of trouble for the dragon slayer, making him realize the power of this sword technique. Bang! The palm and claw collided. The two of them did not retreat because of the surging power. Instead, they were tightly pressed together, and the two palms could not be separated at all. The dragon slayer was stunned and did not understand what was going on. Suddenly, his eyes widened and he screamed, "What are you doing? Quickly let go." How could Tang Jing let go? He desperately urged the sky-swallowing technique, and a black hole suddenly appeared. Before the dragon slayer could react, he disappeared into the black hole with a whoosh. The sky-swallowing technique is indeed a mystical power that can lead to victory, especially for these invaders. They are originally strands of consciousness, so the sky-swallowing technique is their fatal nemesis. Tang Jing suddenly turned around and stared at the dragon slayer who was trapped by the somersault cloud. The other party also saw Tang Jing and personally witnessed the scene of his companion being sucked away by the black hole. He was extremely shocked. Under the attack of the black hole, his companion actually did not have the slightest ability to resist and disappeared without any warning. Tang Jing quickly rushed towards the dragon slayer, and the dragon slayer also quickly dodged to the side. There was no way back, and there was a pursuer in front. He could only choose a direction and escape to the side. Stop! Tang Jing jumped in front of the dragon slayer and pushed out with both palms. The black hole immediately enveloped the dragon slayer. The dragon slayer screamed and struggled, but it was useless. He could only watch as he was sucked into the black hole. Tang Jing did not have time to care about the effects of the heaven realm after these dragon slayers were sucked into the black hole. He steered the somersault cloud and quickly chased after them. If he was a step late, so many dragon souls would be in trouble. When the somersault cloud landed, he saw the dragon slayer rushing into the inverted Langya pavilion from afar. Stop! Tang Jing's heart quivered, and he immediately chased after him. In a flash, he rushed into the Langya pavilion, and just happened to see the dragon slayer standing in front of a large group of dragon clan tombstones. His wild with joy made Tang Jing shudder. You are not allowed to hurt the dragon souls. Seeing that a dragon slayer was already using his mystical ability, the nearest dragon soul flew up from the tombstone and flew towards the dragon slayer. Tang Jing descended from the sky and stood between the two parties. With a push of his hand, the black hole flew out from his palm and became bigger and bigger. His palm was aimed at the dragon slayer. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The dragon slayer was just a wisp of spirit. Without the protection of a physical body, it was a piece of cake in front of the sky-devouring technique. It was a delicious dish without any defense. Therefore, with a flash of light, the black hole sucked in two dragon slayers. The dragon slayer was suddenly enlightened. He finally understood how Tang Jing could break through the encirclement and catch up to them in such a short time. Stop him. Let's go upstairs. The dragon slayer had already sensed that an even larger dragon soul was still upstairs. Although the dragon souls below were not bad, they were far from the ones above. If he wanted to quickly increase his strength, he naturally had to absorb the dragon souls above. Stopping Tang Zheng's attack became especially important. Chapter 1576. A few dragon slayers blocked Tang Zheng, but the black hole had already flown in front of them. They couldn't stand still at all and used all their skills to try to escape the suction of the black hole. With this opportunity, those dragon souls that had already flown up from the tombstones flew back to the tombstones and luckily escaped the calamity. Sky-devouring technique, absorb. Tang Zheng roared and flew up. The power of the black hole increased greatly, and the few dragon slayers disappeared in the black hole in the blink of an eye. Tang Zheng didn't even have time to catch his breath and rushed to the second floor with a tap of his toes. However, there were no dragon slayers on the second floor. The dragon slayers had already realized that the more powerful the dragon's soul, the higher the floor it was on, so they went straight to the highest floor. That's strange, why aren't the dragon slayers restricted by the Langya Pavilion? They can actually go up the Langya Pavilion so easily? Tang Zheng muttered in his heart. The Langya Pavilion was related to the realm of the dragon god technique. Only when one reached the corresponding realm could they go up the corresponding floor. The two Langya Pavilions were the same. Back then, Tang Zheng only went up to the 9th floor of the Langya Pavilion. He didn't know what was on the remaining 9 floors. Suddenly, when he rushed to the 6th floor, he saw a lone dragon slayer. He was already using his divine ability to absorb a dragon soul in front of him and was about to fuse with his body. Why is there a lone dragon slayer here? And it's only the 6th floor? Tang Zheng stretched out his hand and the other party tried to dodge, but there was still a black hole in mid-air, so he couldn't dodge at all. As a result, he easily fell into the palm of Tang Zheng's hand. Before the black hole absorbed his soul, Tang Zheng first used the soul-searching technique and emptied the knowledge in his brain. Suddenly, he realized that this lone dragon slayer was too weak. If he was blocked in front of the restriction on the 7th floor of the Langya Pavilion. The restriction of the Langya Pavilion still existed and was still in effect. However, for various reasons, the dragon slayers were also treated like the dragon tribe. Tang Zheng immediately realized something was wrong. It turned out that when the dragon slayers were at the main entrance of the Langya Pavilion, they were also blocked by the restriction. However, with so many dragon slayers gathering everyone's strength, they actually managed to break through the restriction in one fell swoop and barged in. Once they entered the Langya Pavilion, they would be considered to have truly obtained the same treatment as the dragon clan. That was, they would be able to ascend to the corresponding floor based on the realm of the dragon's soul that they had absorbed. The most powerful dragon's soul that this lone dragon slayer had ever absorbed was only able to reach the 6th level. Naturally, he could only stop here. After Tang Zheng understood this point, he was both shocked and angry. Could it be that this group of dragon slayers had not absorbed a more powerful dragon soul? Perhaps it was a dragon soul that could reach the 9th floor. Even Tang Zheng hadn't been up there before. If the dragon slayer went up there and he couldn't go up, wouldn't all the floors above be in trouble? We can't let this happen. Tang Zheng shuddered, gritted his teeth, and quickly chased after him. When he reached the 7th and 8th floors, there were corresponding dragon slayers lingering there, trying their best to absorb the dragon souls. Fortunately, Tang Zheng managed to stop them. If one of the dragon souls was absorbed by the dragon slayers, Tang Zheng would also feel that he had neglected his duty. After all, the dragon clan seniors had given these dragon souls to him to take care of without reservation. If he couldn't fulfill his promise, wouldn't he be breaking his promise to the dragon clan seniors? Tang Zheng swept away all obstacles and ascended to the 9th floor. His pupils couldn't help but constrict because he saw that the dragon clan on the 9th floor was already absorbing the dragon souls crazily. Half of one of the dragon souls had already fused with the dragon slayers. Come back! Tang Zheng roared, his eyes wide open in anger. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the dragon soul's tail. The dragon soul immediately stopped and didn't continue to fuse with the dragon slayers. Seeing this, the dragon slayers were anxious and angry. They cursed non-stop, "Damn you, you actually want to stop me. There wasn't just one dragon slayers on this floor. There were two other dragon slayers who immediately came to help and attack Tang Zheng's vital parts. Tang Zheng grabbed the dragon's soul with one hand and executed the sky-devouring technique with the other. He fiercely slammed his palm over. Whoosh! A black hole shot out from his palm and directly enveloped one of the dragon slayers. Before the other party could react, he immediately disappeared without a trace. The other dragon slayers were stunned. Just now, they didn't see Tang Zheng execute the sky-devouring technique and hurried upstairs. Thus, they didn't expect him to have such a powerful mystical ability. However, the other one didn't believe it. He was on guard and charged over again like a ferocious tiger. Tang Zheng leaned to the side and dodged this attack. This was because the dragon slayers in front of him who were in a stalemate with him also attacked. One was close while the other was far away. Of course, he had to deal with the dragon slayers first. He slipped and closed the distance between him and the dragon slayers in front of him. Before the other party could react, he pressed his palm against the dragon slayer's chest. Black light erupted and enveloped the dragon slayers. The dragon slayers flashed and disappeared without a trace. Even the half-fused dragon's soul was almost sucked into the black hole. Fortunately, Tang Zheng's sky-devouring technique had already reached the realm of perfection. He could control it freely. Thus, even if he stopped, he avoided the tragedy of the dragon's soul being sucked in. The attack of the remaining dragon slayers also reached Tang Zheng's back. He didn't have time to retaliate. Bang! With the power of this claw, Tang Zheng's soul was almost torn to pieces, and a large hole appeared on his back. Ah! Tang Zheng subconsciously let out a scream and staggered forward. He fell to the ground and was in a slightly sorry state. The dragon slayers were overjoyed. Although they had sacrificed so many of their companions, at least they had defeated the enemy. They quickly pounced forward and prepared to give Tang Zheng a fatal blow. Tang Zheng lay on the ground and didn't have time to turn around. He pushed back with his palm and happened to collide with the dragon slayer's claw. The black hole kept trembling, and the suction force was greatly reduced. The dragon slayers had just been imprisoned by the sky-devouring technique, but they immediately broke free. Obviously, the power of the sky-devouring technique had decreased, and the threat to the dragon slayers had also decreased. The dragon slayer's strength was not lower than Tang Zheng's, and Tang Zheng was heavily injured. It wouldn't be easy to easily suck the dragon slayers into the heaven realm. The dragon slayers also understood this point. They revealed a proud expression and said arrogantly, "Your divine ability isn't working anymore. I'll kill you first and then absorb all the dragon souls on this floor. I haven't absorbed such a powerful dragon soul in a long time." There were fewer and fewer dragons in the world. The chances of the dragon slayers finding more dragons had also decreased. It was especially difficult to find powerful dragons. This dragon slayer's strength was not low at all. They had absorbed many dragon souls, but the dragon souls that they had absorbed for a long time were very weak. They were far from a dragon's soul that could reach the 9th floor of Langya Pavilion. Chapter 1577. The dragon slayer and Tang Zheng's palms were pressed against each other. The black hole was not stable and was constantly trembling. It could collapse at any time. The dragon slayer said proudly, "No matter what strange things you have, your path has come to an end. After killing you, all the dragon souls here will belong to us, the dragon slayer." With that, the dragon slayer swept his claw towards Tang Zheng. The surging power caused a strong wind to blow. Tang Zheng hurriedly used his hand as a sword and pointed his finger upwards. Like a treasured sword being unsheathed, he ruthlessly struck the dragon slayer's claw. The sword chi in his finger was like a rainbow. With a pu sound, a small hole was created in the dragon slayer's claw. The dragon slayer turned pale with fright and staggered back. He exclaimed, "You're about to die, but you're still so powerful. I really didn't expect that." Tang Zheng took a deep breath and slapped the ground with his palm. He stood up lightly and said with a gloomy face, "Dragon Slayer, do you really think you have the upper hand?" The Dragon Slayer's expression changed slightly. He gritted his teeth and said, "Humph, let's see how long you can last." He was very confident in his previous attack. He didn't think that Tang Zheng would have much strength to counterattack after taking this attack. Indeed, the power of the Dragon Slayer's attack was extraordinary. Tang Zheng's soul was almost shattered. Fortunately, he cultivated the Ksitigarbha Sutra and his soul was strong. It was not something that could be completely defeated with just one attack. In addition, after Tang Zheng discovered that the power of his Devouring Heaven technique had weakened, he had an idea and immediately used the Devouring Heaven technique soul to make up for this weakness. In the Heaven realm, the Dragon Slayer's soul had already turned into surging energy and descended from the sky, landing on the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. It actually grew to the height of 2 people. The surrounding ground also grew green flowers and plants, full of vitality. Without a doubt, all of these changes caused the Heaven realm to undergo a qualitative change. Even the realm of the Devouring Heaven technique was slowly increasing. The Devouring Heaven technique had already reached the realm of moving mountains and moving seas, which was the only realm left. Tang Zheng had a premonition that the sky-swallowing technique was slowly progressing toward the ultimate realm. However, Tang Zheng was indeed injured, so he didn't immediately expose this point. Showing weakness to the enemy would make the enemy proud and lower their guard. The Dragon Slayer's wariness had indeed dropped by a lot. Originally, when he saw his 2 companions mysteriously disappear, he was already shocked. However, when he saw Tang Zheng's current predicament, he immediately realized that he had made a mistake in his judgment. This person had relied on some kind of magical power to win by surprise. Now that the power of this divine ability had been greatly reduced, there was naturally nothing to be afraid of. Kill! The Dragon Slayer let out a low roar, and his killing intent soared into the sky. His claws transforming into thousands upon thousands of them, interweaving into a gigantic claw that slashed down toward Tang Zheng's head. Tang Zheng pushed out his palm again. But no matter what, this palm seemed to be too weak. There was no way it could compare to the Dragon Slayer's attack. The Dragon Slayer's lips curled into a cruel smile. He was certain that Tang Zheng was dead for sure. Bang! Tang Zheng's palm and the claw collided. There wasn't much of a commotion. His palm was like a small boat swaying in the wind and rain, unable to resist at all. However, this small boat was extremely sturdy. No matter how the wind and rain battered it, there was actually no sign of it shattering. On the contrary, a black hole gradually grew in size, gradually forming in Tang Zheng's palm. Not long after, the black hole became larger and larger, and was extremely stable. It was completely unlike before, which was constantly trembling. The Dragon Slayer's eyes narrowed, and he shouted loudly, "You're lying to me." He would be an idiot if he still couldn't see through the clues. Tang Zheng was completely showing weakness to the enemy, luring him in, and then killing him in one strike. The power that erupted from this black hole didn't give him a chance to escape at all. Thus, there was a flash of black light, and it surged out from the black hole. Then, it quickly enveloped the Dragon Slayer. The Dragon Slayer struggled with all his might, trying to break free from this terrifying power. However, it was all too late. This power was like an octopus, firmly grasping the Dragon Slayer. No matter how he struggled, it was all to no avail. Whoosh! After a soft sound, the Dragon Slayer disappeared and was sucked into the black hole. Thus, at the same time, there was another majestic energy in the Heaven realm. Under the nourishment of this energy, the Tree of Life slowly grew again. Not long after, it actually grew a lot taller. Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. This was a narrow victory. If it was in the outside world, he definitely wouldn't have been able to win so easily. This was completely a special world in Langya, allowing both sides to fight in the state of their divine souls. In terms of the strength of the divine soul, he was far more powerful than the Dragon Slayer. In addition, the sky-devouring skill was the nemesis of the divine soul, so he could achieve a level of success. Huff huff. He kept panting a few times and looked at the fragile dragon's soul beside him. It was the dragon's soul that was almost sucked into the dragon slayer's body just now. It had already become very fragile. Go back. Tang Jing flipped his palm and grabbed the dragon's soul. Then, he guided it back to his tombstone. With a flash of golden light, it wrapped around the tombstone again. Tang Jing felt relieved. He looked around and saw that there was not a single dragon soul missing. If he was a step later, he wouldn't have been so lucky. I was lucky enough to complete the mission given to me by the seniors of the Dragon Clan. However, the secret of Langia has been completely discovered by the Dragon Slayer. They will definitely send a large army here. At that time, I won't be able to do anything alone. After the Dragon Slayer discovered that he had failed this time, he would definitely be more prepared and send more powerful Dragon Slayer here. Even if Tang Zheng had the sky-devouring skill, it would definitely be difficult for him to deal with it. This time, it was completely because the Dragon Slayer didn't know that there was such a powerful opponent like Tang Zheng and let his guard down. That was why he was caught off guard by Tang Zheng. The Dragon Slayer would definitely not make the same mistake twice. Otherwise, the Dragon Slayer would not have reached such a powerful level. Tang Zheng was filled with emotions. He felt that the heavy burden on his shoulders was like 1,000 caddies, pressing down on him until he could not breathe. The Golden Dragon has already gone to look for the base of the Dragon Clan. I hope there will be news soon. After meeting with the Dragon Clan, I might be able to think of a way to solve this crisis. His heart moved, he could only temporarily place his hope on this point. The Dragon Slayer has been eliminated. I can take a breather for the time being. He let out a long breath and looked around. He was about to go downstairs, but just as he reached the stairs, he stopped in his tracks. This was because a thought flashed through his mind like a bolt of lightning. His entire body trembled as if he had been electrocuted. Even his soul trembled. He turned around abruptly and stared straight at the stairs leading to the 10th floor. Chapter 1578. A fish that slipped through the net. He had actually missed a dragon slayer. He had a flash of inspiration. When he was calculating the number of dragon slayers he had eliminated, he suddenly realized that there seemed to be one missing. He climbed from the 1st floor to the 9th floor, but there was no trace of this dragon slayer. This could only mean that he was not on the 9th floor, but on the he subconsciously raised his head and looked at the stairs leading to the 10th floor. This fish that slipped through the net could only have reached a higher floor. Even Tang Zheng did not know how powerful the dragon souls on the remaining floors were. If they fell into the hands of the Dragon Slayer, wouldn't that mean that the Dragon Slayer's strength would increase by leaps and bounds? More importantly, Tang Zheng did not fulfill his promise to the Dragon Clan's senior. He felt a chill in his heart as if he had fallen into an ice cave. He walked step by step toward the stairs. Bang! He was sent flying by a mysterious force and landed on the ground in a sorry state. He still could not break through the restrictions on this floor. Hiss! He gasped. He could not go upstairs, but the Dragon Slayer quietly went up. This could only mean that the Dragon Slayer had absorbed a dragon soul that could reach a higher floor. This showed how powerful this Dragon Slayer was. Most importantly, Tang Zheng could not go up. This meant that he could only watch the Dragon Slayer do whatever he wanted, but he could not do anything. No, I can't let him do whatever he wants. Absolutely not. Tang Zheng clenched his teeth, and his eyes became incomparably firm. Bang! He tiptoed and rushed to the stairs again, but he was still bounced back. After he got up from the ground, he ignored the pain all over his body and stared at the stairs with burning eyes. Am I going to fail just like that? He shook his head. I can't admit defeat. There must be a way. I have to think of a way. He did not rush up recklessly again. Instead, he paced back and forth at the stairs, looking left and right, trying to find some clues. Each floor of Langia is closely related to the Dragon God technique, but I have already cultivated to the 9th level of the Dragon God technique, so I can easily reach the 9th floor of Langia. But what about the next floor? He racked his brain as he circulated the Dragon God's secret art. The Dragon God's secret art circulated in his body, and before he knew it, he had transformed into a mighty 9-clawed golden dragon. The 2 dragon horns on the top of his head were like small lotuses that had just revealed their sharp horns. They flickered with golden light. Suddenly, he had a stroke of luck. The golden light on the dragon horn flickered intensely, as if something had attracted the dragon horn, and that something was upstairs. Cautiously, he approached the staircase and tried to ascend it again. Bang! That familiar rebounding force was still surging towards him. However, he was not sent flying this time. A beam of golden light shot out from the dragon horn and blocked the rebounding force. Tang Zheng was dumbfounded. Dragon horns actually had such a miraculous effect? Back then, when he grew the dragon horns, he didn't understand what they were used for. He thought that they were useless. He didn't expect that they would be useful at this critical moment. His confidence was greatly boosted, and he was greatly encouraged. He muttered to himself, "It seems that hope lies on the dragon horn." He took another step forward. Bang! The rebounding force gushed out, but he did not retreat. His dragon claws were deeply embedded in the floor. A beam of golden light shot out from the dragon horn. It was as dazzling as the sun and bathed Tang Zheng's dragon body. He moved his dragon claws forward step by step. The rebounding force was actually blocked by the dragon horn. There's hope. His dragon eyes shone with a dazzling light. Step by step, he finally stepped onto the first step. Success! He was overjoyed, but he did not dare to let his guard down. He activated the Dragon God technique with all his might. The dragon horn on top of his head shone even brighter. It was like a layer of armor that completely enveloped Tang Zheng's body. 1 step, 2 steps, the dawn of victory was right in front of him. Bang! When he finally reached the last step, his body relaxed. The rebounding force disappeared, and the golden light also disappeared. Could it be that the rebounding force naturally disappeared after I successfully reached the top? I reached the 10th floor just like that. Even the golden dragon doesn't know what's on the 10th floor. He was overwhelmed with emotions. He really wanted to tell the golden dragon this great news immediately. However, he immediately calmed down. This was because the scene in front of him almost scared his soul out of his body. This was because the fish that escaped the net was actually standing in the center of this floor. The space above his head was not the roof, but a sky that was like the sky. White clouds floated, and it was incomparably blue. However, a beam of resplendent golden light fell from the sky, covering the blue sky and white clouds. There was no way to see the source of this golden light, but the other end was in the hands of the dragon slayer. He firmly grasped the golden light with both hands. His expression was ferocious and crazy. He could not hide his ecstasy. He raised his head and looked at the golden light in the sky with burning eyes. He was incomparably greedy. What are you doing? Tang Zheng did not expect that the 10th floor was like another world. It was completely different from the previous 9 floors. Just this scene alone was definitely not simple. From this, it could be seen how mysterious the 10th floor was. He had not figured out the mystery of the 10th floor, but since the dragon slayer was trying to get his hands on the golden light, he definitely could not let him succeed. Therefore, he roared loudly, shook his head, and swung his tail. He let out a dragon roar and swept his dragon tail toward the dragon slayer fiercely. The dragon slayer also noticed Tang Zheng. His pupils constricted, and he could not hide the shock on his face. He did not expect Tang Zheng to be so powerful. He actually passed the lower 9 floors and stepped onto the 10th floor. No, I definitely can't let him disturb me. The dragon slayer gritted his teeth and made up his mind. However, Tang Zheng's attack was already in front of him. The dragon slayer also roared toward the sky. The roar was very similar to a dragon's roar. A terrifying power spread out from his body and filled the entire floor. Bang! This terrifying power resisted the dragon tail. Tang Zheng was actually sent flying back. After somersaulting in the air, Tang Zheng stabilized his body. A resplendent light burst out from his dragon eyes. At the same time, his 2 dragon horns also released a dazzling golden light. The golden light flew out with a whoosh. Puff! The dragon slayer's terrifying power was like a thin piece of paper. It was actually torn in half by this golden light. The golden light went straight in and shot directly toward the dragon slayer. Only then did the dragon slayer notice the dragon horns that had just appeared on top of Tang Zheng's head. He dodged in a panic and screamed in shock, "Dragon horns, you actually have dragon horns?" The dragon slayer had seen too many members of the dragon clan. He had even seen a member of the dragon clan who could step onto the 10th floor of Langya. The biggest characteristic of that dragon clan was that they had dragon horns. The dragon horns of that dragon clan member were even shorter than Tang Zheng's dragon horns. They had just popped out a little from the top of his head. If one did not observe carefully, it would be extremely difficult to notice. However, that battle had given the dragon slayer a great shock and an unforgettable impression. He had almost died in the hands of a dragon clan member because of that tiny dragon horn. Chapter 1579. The dragon slayer was scared out of his wits. Tang Zheng was in a similar situation. He could tell that this dragon slayer was completely different from the previous dragon slayer. He was much stronger. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to ascend to the 10th floor so openly. Of course, he should have only been able to ascend to the 10th floor. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed here and would have definitely gone to a higher floor. But no matter what the situation was, Tang Zheng definitely wouldn't allow the dragon slayer to succeed. As for what the golden light in the air was and what it meant, he didn't know at the moment. Whoosh! The dragon slayer stared at Tang Zheng in horror and asked, "Why do you have a dragon horn?" Dragon horn? Tang Zheng was stunned. Could it be that the dragon horn was very special? He immediately thought about it. The dragon horn seemed to be very special. It could even ascend to the 10th floor. This was completely an action that surpassed one's level. From the dragon slayer's reaction, it was likely that the dragon horn was much more powerful than he imagined. Tang Zheng deliberately sneered and bluffed, "Why can't I have a dragon horn?" As he spoke, he approached the dragon slayer step by step. The dragon claw fell to the ground, creating a loud boom that shook one's soul. "Stop!" The dragon slayer stared at Tang Zheng and roared. It seemed that he was a bit afraid of him. Huh! Tang Zheng immediately caught this trace of emotion. With a thought, he continued to approach the dragon slayer. A trace of panic flashed through the dragon slayer's eyes. The dragon he killed last time was still fresh in his memory. That small dragon horn had almost killed him. Now that Tang Zheng's dragon horn was a bit longer and bigger, its killing power was naturally more terrifying. He suddenly understood. No wonder so many of his companions couldn't stop him, allowing him to catch up to him so easily. Tang Zheng approached the dragon slayer step by step, but the dragon slayer had no way to retreat. His face turned cold and he shouted fiercely, "Since you want to die, then I'll fulfill your wish." Whoosh! He reached out with his large hand and grabbed at the air. The air was sucked in by his large hand and became a vacuum state. An energy ball gradually formed in his palm. Boom! The energy ball left his hand and flew toward Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng shook its head and wagged its tail. Immediately, 2 beams of golden light shot out from its dragon horns. With a loud boom, 2 bursts of energy exploded. Tang Zheng's dragon claws left a few deep marks on the ground before he managed to stop himself from retreating. The dragon slayer, on the other hand, swayed a little before he managed to stabilize himself. However, the golden light in his hand was shaking and creaking, as if it was about to collapse. Seeing this, the dragon slayer turned pale with fright and roared. Using both hands, he grabbed the golden light. Only then did the golden light stabilize and not collapse. But his hands were no longer empty. Tang Jing took this opportunity to attack. He had just finished preparing his attack, but he stopped at the last moment. He raised his head and stared blankly at the sky. That was the source of the resplendent golden light, and it was unreachable. However, a strange thought appeared in his mind again. The thing that attracted the dragon horn seemed to be at the source of the golden light. He couldn't see it clearly, but he had a feeling. What could it be? Dragon soul? Otherwise, why would it attract the dragon slayer so much? Seeing Tang Jing looking at the sky, the dragon slayer became even more nervous. That attack just now seemed to have the upper hand, but he knew that if this continued, his situation would probably be even worse. After all, one was defense, and the other was attack. Since the dragon slayer wanted something, he naturally had to pay more. I don't know what it is. Then I'll go up and take a look, Tang Jing said. Then, his dragon claws stomped on the ground and rose into the air, flying directly toward the source of the golden light. Stop! The dragon slayer screamed in shock. He had no choice but to free his hands and form them into claws. His claws turned into pitch-black scales, which were completely different from the dragon scales of the dragon clan. Dragon capturing hands. The dragon slayer roared. His claws suddenly became bigger, and the pitch-black scales shone with a terrifying black light. Dragon capturing hands was the ultimate move of the dragon slayer. It did not rely on any magic treasures, and completely relied on one's own strength. Even if it was only the spirit, the dragon slayer could completely use it. However, there was a drawback to using dragon capturing hands, and that was that it consumed a lot of power. If the attack missed or did not completely capture the dragon clan would counterattack, and the dragon slayer would become very passive. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, the dragon slayer would not use this mystical power at all. Moreover, this mystical power was not something that everyone could use. After all, one could only successfully cultivate it after reaching a certain level. He just so happened to have reached this level, and those dragon slayers from before had not reached this level at all. Therefore, even if it was a matter of life and death, they could not use it. Tang Jing flew in midair, and when he lowered his head, he saw the black claws flying toward him. His heart suddenly trembled, and he felt a natural threat from those claws. Dragon capturing hands, could it be a mystical power specially used to deal with the dragon clan? Tang Jing remembered what the dragon slayer had shouted, and frowned. So what if it's specially used to deal with the dragon clan, would I be afraid? He simply did not fly into the sky. Instead, he somersaulted in the air, and aimed at the huge claws. With a dragon roar, he charged over. Boom! After the dragon claws and the dragon capturing hands collided, the two rays of golden and black light collided, and brilliant lights overflowed. However, Tang Jing felt his whole body tighten, as if he was firmly imprisoned. He subconsciously frowned, and looked at the dragon capturing hands that was close at hand. That strong sense of threat was incomparably clear, and it deeply stimulated his heart. The power of the dragon claws was actually unable to contend against the dragon capturing hands. It was as if the dragon capturing hands were specially used to restrain his dragon claws. Dragon tail whip. Tang Jing roared loudly, and the dragon tail swept toward the dragon capturing hands. Just as it was about to hit the dragon capturing hands, the dragon claws suddenly stiffened, and stopped in midair, unable to advance any further. Ha, you still want to deal with my dragon capturing hands? This is a mystical power specially used to deal with the dragon clan. How can you contend against it? The dragon slayer laughed wildly. At first, he was still worried that Tang Jing would not accept the challenge. If he dodged the dragon capturing hands, then it would not be so easy for him to launch his first attack. However, this worry did not come to fruition. This dragon actually did not know what was good for him and directly accepted the challenge, and just happened to fall into the attack range of the dragon-capturing hands. The dragon-capturing hands dared to use this name, and it was not an undeserved reputation. Once a dragon fell into the attack range of the dragon-capturing hands, it would be difficult for them to escape. If other dragons saw the dragon-capturing hands, they would definitely not face it head-on. However, Tang Zheng was a dragon that had only recently become a dragon, and was completely unaware of this point. Thus, he did not know the immensity of heaven and earth, and directly accepted the challenge. This just happened to fall into the Dragon Slayer's trap, and made him feel relieved. He thought that the outcome was set, and a great benefit would fall into his hands. Chapter 1580. Tang Zheng was trapped by the dragon-capturing hands and couldn't move. The dragon-capturing hands specifically restrained him. No matter how he struggled, he was actually helpless. Dragon horns. His heart stirred. Since the Dragon Slayer was so afraid of the dragon horns, then the power of the dragon horns was naturally unquestionable. Boom! 2 rays of golden light shot out from the dragon horns. The surrounding air surged, but he was still unable to move. Tang Zheng was stunned for a moment. What was going on? Weren't the dragon horns very powerful? Why couldn't he break the dragon-capturing hands? But he didn't know that the dragon-capturing hands was specially used to restrain the divine abilities of the dragon race. The attack of the dragon horns was also a divine ability of the dragon race, so it would also be restrained by the dragon-capturing hands. When this Dragon Slayer killed that dragon race member who also had dragon horns, when the Dragon Slayer used the dragon-capturing hands, the dragon race member quickly dodged and didn't face the enemy head-on. This avoided the power of the dragon-capturing hands. Once the dragon-capturing hands couldn't trap the dragon race, then the dragon race members' dragon horns could freely unleash their power. The Dragon Slayer would naturally be surrounded by danger. Tang Zheng didn't know this. He was like a butterfly that had fallen into a spider's web. No matter how he flapped his wings, there was no way to escape. Tang Zheng stared blankly at the golden light that didn't have any effect. He couldn't believe it. Ha ha ha, you've already been trapped by my dragon-capturing hands, and you still want to struggle? Humph, that's futile. You're dead meat. I'll let you struggle at death's door for a while. After I fuse with this dragon god fragment, I'll deal with you. At that time, even if you have dragon horns, I may not be afraid of you. The Dragon Slayer suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. Not to mention how proud he was. Dragon god fragment? Tang Zheng was suddenly stunned and cried out in surprise. The Dragon Slayer looked at him with a burning gaze and said thoughtfully, "So that's how it is." Ha, the ancestors of the dragon race even hid it from their own descendants. So a stupid dragon like you actually didn't know anything. Tang Zheng ignored the Dragon Slayer's taunts. In any case, the dragon-capturing hands could only trap him temporarily and would not hurt him. Thus, he took the opportunity to ask, "What exactly is the dragon god fragment?" The Dragon Slayer thought for a while, shook his head, and said complacently, "Seeing that you don't know anything, I might as well be merciful and let you know why you died." After a slight pause, the Dragon Slayer said, "The greatest leader of your dragon clan is called the Dragon God. I don't know how many tens of thousands of years ago, your dragon clan already had a dragon god. His strength was extremely powerful. Unfortunately, his fate was not very good, and he died at the hands of his own brother." The dragon god was killed by his own brother? Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. This was the first time he had heard of this inside story. It could be considered a true secret. Even the golden dragon had not revealed a single word to him. In fact, judging from the Dragon Slayer's tone, even the golden dragon might not know about this. Why did the dragon god die in the hands of his own brother? The Dragon Slayer seemed to have really treated him as a dead man with no chance of turning over, so he actually shamelessly explained it to him. "We were born from the same root, so why are we in such a hurry to kill each other? This kind of thing can only be done for one reason, power." When the old dragon god was dying, he passed the throne of the dragon clan to the dragon god. As his brother, he would naturally be dissatisfied and wait for an opportunity to take revenge. Killing the dragon god is naturally the best way. The dragon slayer said jokingly. This story was very melodramatic, but there were countless similar versions in the long river of history. After the dragon god died, the dragon god's soul turned into many fragments, which are the dragon god fragments. It's just that no one would have thought that the dragon god fragments were actually hidden in the dragon seal. Hee, those old fellows of the dragon clan are really cunning, trying to use this kind of method to stop us dragon slayers. The dragon slayer curled his lips in disdain. What is the use of the dragon god fragments? Tang Zheng asked curiously. It's very useful. Once you collect all the dragon god fragments and merge them with yourself, then it's possible to become a new dragon god. This is something that countless dragon clan and even dragon slayers dream of. Ever since this dragon god died, there hasn't been another dragon god in the dragon clan. That's why the dragon clan fell from their lofty pedestal and ended up in such a state of hiding. When Tang Zheng heard this, his mind was greatly shaken. He didn't think that the fall of the dragon clan actually had such an inside story. That's not right. When did the dragon slayer appear? Was it after the fall of the dragon god? Did the dragon slayer have anything to do with the fall of the dragon god? Tang Zheng's mind was very active. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that there was an inside story that was hard to grasp. He hurriedly asked, is the dragon slayer related to the fall of the dragon god? The dragon slayer looked at him in surprise and said in disbelief, you dragon clan actually don't even know the origin of the dragon slayer? Tang Zheng really didn't know. I really don't know how much inside story the old fellows of the dragon clan hid from you. How do you think the dragon slayer appeared? Out of thin air? You have to know how powerful and noble the dragon clan used to be. How could anyone dare to hunt the dragon clan for a living? Isn't that just courting death? A dramatic expression appeared on Tang Zheng's face. Since the dragon slayer kept saying that the dragon clan was so high, then how could there be a dragon slayer? The dragon slayer said without stopping, I can tell that you don't know anything just by looking at your expression. The dragon clan is really getting worse with each generation. No wonder they can't escape the fate of being hunted by us. They don't even know their own history. How can a clan that doesn't know their own history be strong? Tang Zheng clenched his teeth and didn't argue with the dragon slayer. He would let him show off enough and naturally reveal more inside stories. Sure enough, the dragon slayer deliberately asked mysteriously, do you know who the first dragon slayer was? Tang Zheng blinked and naturally couldn't answer. The dragon god's brother. The dragon slayer pondered for a moment and spat out 5 words. Then he stared at Tang Zheng with shining eyes, as if he wanted to give him time to digest this news. Gotcha. Tang Zheng's brain seemed to have flashed with a bright flash of lightning. He was completely stunned by these 5 words. The first dragon slayer was actually the dragon god's brother, which was the dragon clan that killed the dragon god. He was dumbfounded. No matter what, he never thought that the first dragon slayer would be him. Gradually, the hidden clues seemed to be connecting together bit by bit, piecing together into a complete clue. A light flashed in his mind and he asked suspiciously, could it be that the dragon slayer was also created by this dragon clan? The dragon slayer laughed wildly. A stupid dragon like you can actually draw inferences from one case. It seems that you aren't too stupid. You guessed right, this is the origin of the dragon slayer. Chapter 1581. The origin of the dragon slayers was actually so complicated, it really shocked Tang Zheng. But then, many questions popped up in his heart. Since the founder of the dragon slayers was a dragon, then why did he not find so many dragons hidden in the Langya pavilion? After all, this place was actually not guarded against the dragon race. Normally, the dragon clan would follow the teachings of their ancestors and not dare to come to this place. However, that traitor of the Dragon Clan would not have such concerns and would definitely turn this place upside down. How could he not discover that there were so many Dragon Clan hidden here? So, he took the opportunity to ask, "You Dragon Slayers only found out the secret of this place now, then why didn't your founder find out? Isn't he also a dragon? He can enter and leave this place freely." The Dragon Slayer's eyes were full of regret. He said, the Dragon God was not to be trifled with. Before he died, he sealed his ability to enter and leave this place, so, from then on, this place became a forbidden area for us Dragon Slayers. Ha ha ha, but the Dragon God never thought that we could enter and leave this place through this method. The old ancestor has already found this method. It won't be long before he comes here personally. When that time comes, no dragon will be able to stop his footsteps. Old ancestor? Tang Zheng's thick eyebrows jumped. Could it be that the traitor of the dragon race is not dead yet? How dare you! The Dragon Slayer's expression changed abruptly. He scolded sternly, "Ignorant stupid dragon, how dare you be rude to the old ancestor?" Tang Zheng snorted coldly, ignoring them. The shock in his heart was indescribable. The Dragon God was dead, but that traitor was not. No wonder the Dragon Slayers could firmly suppress the dragon race. With that traitor around, he knew the dragon race like the back of his hand, especially the various magical powers and secrets of the dragon race. He did not hold back in front of the Dragon Slayers. The Dragon Catcher hand was probably created by that traitor. Only someone who knew the dragon race so well could create such a magical power. Tang Zheng sighed. No matter which world it was, why were there so many traitors? It was impossible to guard against them. It was like this in the Outland. Even the world of the dragon race was like this. Fortunately, the Dragon God sealed the traitor's ability to enter and exit the Langya Pavilion before he died, leaving the dragon race with a chance of survival. Otherwise, the Dragon Clan would have been destroyed long ago. How could they have survived until today? The Dragon Clan seemed to be very secretive about this matter. They did not know as much about the history of the Dragon Clan as the Dragon Slayers did. Perhaps the Dragon Clan felt that there was such a traitor in the Dragon Clan, so they were too ashamed to mention this to their descendants. This was the dark history of the Dragon Clan. In fact, it was the shame of the Dragon Clan. Tang Zheng subconsciously looked towards the sky. The Dragon God fragment was there, and he definitely could not let it fall into the hands of the Dragon Slayers. The Dragon God fragment was the last thing the Dragon God had left for the Dragon Clan. How could he let the Dragon Slayer have it so easily? The Dragon Slayer did not seem to want to continue speaking. He coldly glanced at Tang Zheng, then firmly grabbed the golden light with both hands. With a loud roar, a terrifying black light erupted from his body. The black light soared into the sky, and the golden light where his hands met seemed to be dyed black. In mid-air, the source of the golden light seemed to appear little by little. It was a golden light that was like a scorching sun, illuminating the entire space. As it approached bit by bit, the whole world became brighter. Is that the Dragon God fragment? Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. He watched as the Dragon God fragment approached the Dragon Slayer. No, I must break free from the shackles of the dragon capturing hand. Tang Zheng gritted his teeth. His eyes were resolute, but the Dragon Clan's Shintong was completely suppressed and could not do anything at all. I don't only know the Dragon Clan's divine ability. Tang Zheng snorted and activated the sky-devouring technique. A black hole had just formed when a golden light flew over with a whoosh and hit the black hole hard. The black hole shook a few times and disappeared without a trace. The Dragon Slayer's eyes were like lightning. He taunted, "I know you're not an ordinary dragon. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to kill so many Dragon Slayers. Looks like my guess was right. You can actually use other divine abilities under the suppression of the dragon capturing hand. It's really not easy for a genius like you to appear in the Dragon Clan. Unfortunately, the destruction of the Dragon Clan is unstoppable. How can you change it alone?" It was obvious that this Dragon Slayer was smarter than his companions. He had been silently observing Tang Zheng the entire time, and when he saw him counterattack, he immediately came up with a plan. As a result, Tang Zheng did not even succeed in using the sky-devouring technique. However, he did not plan to give up just like that. With a thought, a small black hole gradually condensed in his palm. Whiz! A ray of golden light suddenly appeared and ruthlessly struck his palm. If not for the fact that he had cultivated the chaotic Vajra spell, his palm would have been crippled. Only then did he turn pale with fright. The dragon slayer had ruthlessly suppressed him. His body was unable to move, and he was unable to even successfully counterattack. Then what should he do? Was he really going to watch as the dragon slayer took away the dragon god fragment? However, he was completely suppressed by the dragon capturing hand and did not have a magic treasure. Right, magic treasure. If he had a magic treasure, perhaps all of this could be changed. The somersault cloud was a magic treasure, but it was not an offensive magic treasure. It might be useful for entangling other dragon slayer, but against this dragon slayer in front of him, it was useless. He racked his brains, and one idea after another popped up, but they were immediately extinguished. They were like balls of fire that were immediately extinguished as soon as they were lit. Sword spirit. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. In this world of the dragon seal, there was no way for the body to enter. Only the divine soul could enter. Wasn't the sword soul a divine soul? Furthermore, the sword soul was an offensive weapon. It was precisely because of the sword soul that the mysterious hidden sword became so powerful. Can the sword soul come here? He suddenly had a thought. Of course, it was impossible for the sword soul to come in on its own accord, but if Tang Zheng was by its side to help, would there be a glimmer of hope? Even if there was a glimmer of hope, he would not let it go. Seeing that the situation was getting more and more dangerous, he immediately took action. He was isolated from the outside world, so he had to summon the sword soul in. Sword spirit, oh sword spirit, you must come in. Tang Zheng thought and hurriedly activated the sword skill, trying to form a connection with the sword soul. The mysterious hidden sword was in the world of Sumeru, quietly showing off its wealth in midair. The sword light flowed, especially the 3 straight sacred patterns that were emitting a mysterious aura. Wang! The mysterious hidden sword suddenly hummed softly, letting out a crisp sound. Tang Zheng could not see all of this. He could only summon the sword soul by instinct. The humming of the sword became louder and louder, resounding throughout Sumeru. Even the Shura, who was far away, could hear the humming of the sword. It was as loud as a bell. The 3 sacred patterns were flowing with brilliant colors, and the light was exceptionally dazzling. Suddenly, a ball of light floated from the sword body and rushed into the sky. The mysterious hidden sword's light completely dimmed, as if a person had lost his soul and became a walking corpse. Chapter 1582. The sword spirit appeared on the 10th floor, in front of Tang Zheng and Dragon Slayer, but it was only a ball of light, but it gave off a very sharp feeling. Dragon Slayer's pupils constricted, he stared straight at the sword spirit and asked, "What is this thing?" Tang Zheng was overjoyed, because the sword spirit's voice had already sounded in his heart, "Master, I'm here." The hidden profound sword could already merge with Tang Zheng, it could hide in his body, but sometimes it would be placed in Shumi World. This time it happened to be placed in Shumi World, who would have thought that it would be successfully summoned into this world by Tang Zheng. The sword spirit was different from other divine souls, it was a magic treasure, so it could reach this inverted Langya pavilion. The place it could reach was related to its master. There were also many magic treasures stored in Langya pavilion, and they were placed in Langya pavilion in their original form. This was not something that Tang Zheng could do. It was done by the ancestors of the dragon clan. Tang Zheng looked at the hidden profound sword with a burning gaze, unable to hide the surging emotions in his heart, and shouted, "Sword spirit, attack!" With a command, the sword spirit let out a high-pitched sword cry, the light changed dramatically, turning into the appearance of the hidden profound sword, the sword light was boundless, and with a whoosh, it slashed towards Dragon Slayer. Dragon Slayer cried out in alarm and screamed, "Magic treasure! You can actually summon a magic treasure." Tang Zheng proudly raised the corner of his mouth, and said, have a good taste of it. So. Rays of sword light shot out. There was no need for Tang Zheng to make a move. With just a thought, the hidden profound sword's attack was extremely fierce. Even the dragon capturing hand was unable to stop all of this. Dragon Slayer's plan had completely failed. Seeing the sky full of sword light approaching, he hurriedly met it. A few rays of light flew out from his hand. But how powerful was the sword spirit? In a situation where Dragon Slayer did not have a magic treasure, the sword spirit's attack could be said to be invincible. With a few bangs, the sword light completely dissipated. The sword spirit defeated Dragon Slayer's counterattack, and then directly slashed towards the golden light that traversed heaven and earth. No! Seeing this, Dragon Slayer turned pale with fright, and rushed towards the sword spirit without caring about his own safety, trying to stop it. He had indeed blocked the sword spirit, his arm blocking between the sword spirit and the golden light. Puff! His arm broke, the sword spirit's attack did not decrease, and slashed onto the golden light. In an instant, a dazzling light illuminated the entire world, forcing people to close their eyes. Only this light was left in the entire world. The world became exceptionally quiet. One could hear a pin drop. Kacha! A slight cracking sound broke the silence. The light receded like the ebbing tide, and after a while, it disappeared. The world returned to its original state. Tang Zheng anxiously looked over. The sky had disappeared, but he could still see the dragon god fragment floating in the air, as dazzling as the scorching sun. Tang Zheng let out a sigh of relief as his gaze fell on the Dragon Slayer. Of the dragon of the dead, of the dead, of the world of the world of the lang of the world, of the god. How could I fail? How could I fail? Dragon Slayer muttered to himself, unwillingly leaping up, wanting to rush towards the dragon god fragment. However, the tip of his foot pushed off, and after reaching a few dozen meters in the air, he fell to the ground with a whoosh. Dragon Slayer had no way of flying in the air here. Otherwise, he would have already flown into the sky and taken the dragon god fragment for himself. There was no need for him to waste so much effort. The hidden profound sword whistled and flew back from the air, slashing down on the dragon catcher hand. The dragon catcher hand exploded, and Tang Zheng was freed. He reached out and grabbed the hidden profound sword in his hand. Tang Zheng walked towards Dragon Slayer. Dragon Slayer came back to his senses, and looked at Tang Zheng with eyes full of resentment and unwillingness, hysterically roaring, "How did you do it?" Tang Zheng sneered and said, "You don't have to worry about that. In short, you have failed. Now, what other methods do you have? Use them all." Dragon Slayer stood up, feeling weak in his heart. His cultivation in the outside world was definitely higher than Tang Zheng, but this was the Langya Pavilion inside the Dragon Seal. It was not a place where he could stir up trouble. Kill! Dragon Slayer roared, and with a flash, he had already pounced towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng raised his sword and welcomed the attack. The War Soul sword cried out excitedly. Man and sword as one. Tang Zheng roared, and the huge dragon body disappeared. The sword soul was wrapped in a golden light, and with lightning speed, it slashed towards Dragon Slayer. Pooh! The sword soul directly pierced through Dragon Slayer's chest, and he fell to the ground, kneeling on the ground. However, waves of chi quickly gathered from his body towards the sword soul. Tang Zheng's heart moved, and he already understood what was going on. The hidden profound sword could absorb divine soul, and this was an ability that it possessed when it was promoted. The moment the sword soul pierced through Dragon Slayer, it began to crazily absorb his divine soul. He was originally a divine soul, so the sword soul absorbed it effortlessly. Dragon Slayer's body was changing, turning into thousands of strands and fusing into the sword soul. Tang Zheng and the sword soul were one, and he could clearly feel the sword soul becoming stronger bit by bit. With a flash of golden light, he separated from the sword soul and turned into a human. He stood at the side and looked at the Dragon Slayer who had turned into thousands of strands. Paw! He suddenly slapped his thigh, regretting that he had forgotten to use the soul-searching technique on him. When he was below, he used the soul-searching technique on the dragon slayer, but he did not obtain much useful information. However, from the information he obtained from the dragon slayer, his level was higher than the other dragon slayers, so he knew more secrets. He had actually missed such a good opportunity. He took a deep breath and calmed his feelings of regret. When his gaze was fixed on the sword soul again, he had already completely absorbed the dragon slayer. Light flickered non-stop, and energy surged in all directions. Tang Zheng looked at the sword soul with bright eyes. The strength of the sword soul was beyond his imagination. Could it be that it could improve the quality of the hidden profound sword? He suppressed his curiosity. After all, there was not much time left in the dragon seal, and there was still a dragon god fragment in midair. He had to hurry up and see if he could study the dragon god fragment. When he raised his head and looked at the dragon god fragment, he found that the dragon god fragment was violently fluctuating. It was flying around in the air like a headless fly, and there were signs of it falling. What's going on? Tang Zheng was shocked. Could it be that although the dragon slayer's actions did not completely absorb the dragon god fragment, it had already caused a serious impact on the dragon god fragment? He guessed correctly. The dragon god fragment was originally a part of the dragon god's divine soul. It was an energy body, and the dragon slayer's actions had broken its inherent balance. Chapter 1583. The dragon god fragment was on the verge of falling. Tang Zheng was at a loss. Suddenly, boom! With a loud bang, the dragon god fragment burst into a burst of bright light and fell from the sky like a meteorite falling from the sky. The loud whistling sound was particularly ear-piercing. Whoosh! Tang Zheng watched the dragon god fragment fall to the ground. No, I can't let it fall like this. What if it's destroyed? This is the dragon god fragment. If it's destroyed, it won't be reborn. He stepped forward bravely, and with a kick of his foot, he flew toward the dragon god fragment. The dragon god fragment broke through the air with a terrifying momentum. Tang Zheng met it without hesitation. Boom! Tang Zheng was hit by the dragon god fragment. It was as if he was really hit by a meteorite. His rising momentum came to an abrupt halt. His whole body trembled, and he fell from the sky. He fell heavily on the ground, and the floor seemed to tremble. Immediately, he couldn't move. He lay on the ground like a piece of wood. Only his eyes could move, and there was a mysterious light in his pupils. A majestic energy rushed into his body. The dragon god technique automatically activated, and a huge wave of dragon chi spread out from his body. Unknowingly, he transformed into a dragon again. His huge body expanded rapidly, almost filling up the large space. He flew up lightly, and his whole body bloomed with golden light. A dragon's roar reverberated in his mind. He couldn't help but roar. The dragon's roar spread in all directions, shaking the floor until it creaked. His thoughts became very chaotic. Because, one after another, images kept jumping into his mind, colliding with his original thoughts. If he hadn't used the soul-searching technique several times and absorbed many unfamiliar images from others, he would have been tortured to the point of insanity. He gritted his teeth and digested these images bit by bit. He didn't know if he didn't look, but when he did, he was shocked. These images were actually the memories of the dragon god. Most of them were childhood memories of brothers cultivating together in harmony. There were also fragmented images of the world of the dragon clan. But even so, Tang Zheng was deeply shocked by those scenes. The world of the dragon clan was actually so magnificent, even more magnificent than what he had seen in the illusion of Langya Pavilion. These pictures took a long time to calm down, but Tang Zheng's fluctuating mood could not be calmed down. Although he did not see the moment when the dragon god and his brother turned against each other, he could see from the childhood memories of both sides that the other person's talent and cultivation were not inferior to the dragon god's. No wonder he could kill the dragon god. However, it wasn't as if he didn't gain anything. A divine ability of the dragon clan caught his attention. Dragon god arts. The dragon god had also been cultivating the dragon god technique since he was young, but it was quite different from the dragon god technique that Tang Jing cultivated. There was actually a part of the foundation of the dragon god technique. The advanced version of the dragon god technique. Tang Zheng's huge dragon eyes lit up as he stared at the set of dragon god arts, his heart surging with emotions. It turned out that the dragon god technique that he cultivated back then was only the ordinary version. The real top few of the dragon clan could actually cultivate the more powerful dragon god technique. From this, it could be seen that the world of the dragon clan was also a world with levels. In fact, it was the same for any world. The world was harmonious, and this could not last long. Therefore, it was not difficult for him to understand. If the ordinary version was so powerful, then how powerful would the advanced version be? Tang Zheng couldn't imagine it. In addition, he thought of Langya Pavilion. Langya Pavilion had a total of 18 floors, and the ordinary version of the Dragon God technique had 9 levels, which corresponded to the 9 floors of Langya Pavilion. And the advanced version of the Dragon God technique also had 9 levels. Could it be that it corresponded to the remaining 9 floors of Langya Pavilion? It was just a coincidence that he used the dragon horn to force his way to the 10th floor, or rather, it was forced. When he stepped on the stairs, the rebound was still strong. Therefore, this was not a feasible method. If he really wanted to easily step on the 10th floor, he was afraid that he would need to rely on the advanced version of the Dragon God technique. Moreover, this set of Dragon God technique also had 9 levels. Wouldn't it be compatible with the remaining 9 floors of Langya Pavilion? He firmly believed that his guess was correct. Therefore, he hurriedly focused on studying this set of Dragon God technique. However, just as this thought appeared, the power of the Dragon God fragment exploded again, and energy like a volcanic eruption enveloped him. He could not concentrate at all. With a boom, his body was completely stuffed, and the only remaining meridian seemed to be in danger. Ah! He roared into the sky, and it turned into a dragon's roar. This energy gathered from all parts of his body toward his Zifu, and part of it merged into Yuanying. Immediately, Yuanying shone brightly, and he jumped up and down excitedly like a lively baby. As time passed by, it was unknown how much energy the nascent soul had absorbed from the Dragon God fragment, but it actually stopped. The light all over its body also gradually converged, but a wisp of wisdom flashed in its eyes. However, this wisp of light disappeared in a flash, and it did not appear again. It made people wonder if it was an illusion. Tang Zheng did not notice this. He was still fighting with the remaining energy of the Dragon God fragment. He ran his skills and kept absorbing this energy. He was like a fat man, and the vital qi that was gradually converted filled his body and mind, as if it was about to explode. Boom! With a loud bang, the vital qi in his body rose steadily and finally exploded. The light on his body immediately dissipated. Thump! He fell from the air and fell heavily to the ground, and turned back into a human body. However, he did not have the strength to get up, and his body felt like it was falling apart. The Dragon God fragment was too powerful, and he could not completely digest so much energy. Therefore, he only digested 1/3, and Yuanying also digested 1/3, leaving 1/3. Even so, when his vital qi gathered to the peak, he broke through the shackles in one fell swoop and reached the 7th grade of the Mahayana realm. The 7th grade of the Mahayana realm was only 2 realms away from the 9th grade of the Mahayana realm. Moreover, when he was in sky beyond heaven, he had only reached the 6th grade of the Mahayana realm. How long had it been since he broke through again? Although he was weak all over, his mood could really be described as ecstasy. He immediately stared at the remaining 1/3 of the Dragon God fragment. He really wanted to absorb it immediately, but he was already powerless. It was like a person who was full, and forcing it down would cause problems. No wonder the Dragon Slayers covet the Dragon God fragment. This effect is really not a bluff, it's amazing. He took a deep breath, and with both hands on the ground, he got up little by little. After the vital qi calmed down, it repaired his body little by little, and strength returned to his body. Chapter 1584. The time to stay in the Langya Pavilion was up. He and the sword spirit returned to the outside world and returned to their respective bodies. Net. Tang Zheng was stunned for a moment, and then, his attention was focused on the advanced version of the Dragon God mantra. It seemed that because he had fused with a portion of the Dragon God fragment, his comprehension was very strong, and he quickly comprehended these profound and difficult words. Unknowingly, he entered a mysterious state where he forgot about everything. In this world, there was only him and the Dragon God technique that he was cultivating. A wave of dragon might surged from his body, which was extremely terrifying. Especially when he opened his eyes, this huge room was completely filled with this dragon might. Dong dong dong. The people outside gathered in the room one after another. They all noticed the abnormality and turned pale with fright. But when they reached the door, they were bounced back by a majestic force, unable to take another step forward. Fang Shishir paced back and forth at the door and said worriedly, "Did something happen to him? Why is it like this?" The others also turned pale with fright and were incomparably anxious. Tian Chanzi pinched his chin and thought for a while, then thoughtfully said, "Don't worry, he's at home and not anywhere else. I guess he must be cultivating, which caused this abnormality. We just need to wait quietly. If we force our way in and affect him, it would be very bad." Tian Chanzi was an authority. After listening to his analysis, the others gradually calmed down, but they still anxiously looked at the door. For the next 2 days, Tang Zheng did not leave the room even half a step. The others also had no way to enter, so they could only pace back and forth outside the door. Tian Chanzi's gaze was very deep. Judging from the strange reaction this time, Tang Zheng's harvest was not small. He did not know what kind of opportunity this kid had. "What are you doing?" Suddenly, a voice interrupted them. They all turned their heads. Unknowingly, the golden dragon had returned and was looking at them curiously. Suddenly, the golden dragon's gaze turned cold, as if he had discovered something extraordinary. He strode over and stood at the door, staring straight at the door as if he wanted to see through it. "Master is inside?" the golden dragon asked in horror. The others nodded heavily and looked hopefully at the golden dragon. This was because everyone could sense that Tang Zheng was emitting a dragon's might. The golden dragon might be able to give an accurate and reasonable answer. "Golden dragon, what happened to Tang Zheng?" Fang Shishir asked worriedly. The golden dragon pondered for a moment before saying, "I haven't figured it out yet, but there's one thing I'm sure of. Master's draconic might is very powerful, even more powerful than mine. One had to know that the golden dragon was a member of the dragon clan, so it had a natural advantage over Tang Zheng, who had become a dragon clan member halfway through his life. Dragon aura was one of those advantages. In the past, although his cultivation was lower than that of Tang Zheng, his dragon's might was not low. This was a kind of innate majesty. However, at this moment, he had to admit that he had lost. The dragon's might emitted by Tang Zheng gave him the urge to bow down to him. That kind of terrifying pressure couldn't be explained in a few words. When everyone heard this, they were all shocked. They knew very well what it meant to hear this from the golden dragon. What exactly did Tang Zheng cultivate? How could there be such a huge momentum? The golden dragon also wanted to ask this question. He stared at the door with a burning gaze, trying to see through and see what was behind the door. "Huh!" Suddenly, the golden dragon exclaimed. The others also exclaimed one after another because they found that the draconic might had disappeared. No. This wasn't an ordinary disappearance. It was converging from the outside to the inside. All the draconic might that had been emitted had been completely withdrawn. What was going on? Creak. The door opened and Tang Zheng walked out. Everyone hurriedly rushed up, surrounding him so tightly that not even a drop of water could leak out, and impatiently asked, "Tang Zheng, how are you? Do you feel uncomfortable?" "Kid, what exactly are you doing?" "Master, what did you cultivate? How could there be such a drastic change?" Drastic change. This was the golden dragon's judgment of Tang Zheng. The others couldn't see through it. If he, a dragon, couldn't see through it, then he would have lived for nothing. After the golden dragon's reminder, everyone looked at Tang Jing again. It seemed that there was really a little change. However, they couldn't tell what the change was. Tang Jing looked at everyone with a smile. He could understand their feelings. As for the golden dragon's appearance, it was out of his expectations. He didn't expect him to come back in time. Everyone, don't worry. I'm fine. Tang Jing waved his hand to dispel the worries in everyone's hearts. Then, he seemed to want to test the golden dragon and deliberately asked, "Do you see anything different about me?" The golden dragon narrowed his eyes slightly. His eyes shone as he asked thoughtfully, "Master, did you cultivate some kind of dragon clan divine ability again?" Tang Jing's eyes lit up and praised, "The golden dragon's eyes are really good. You actually saw through it." The golden dragon said resentfully, "I only saw a few clues. Compared to Master, it's not worth mentioning. Don't be modest." Tang Jing smiled, then changed the topic and asked, "Golden Dragon, do you know that the Dragon God method is not only the part that you taught me? The memories of the Dragon God fragment were all from many years ago." He didn't know if the Dragon Clan had changed after that. For example, he didn't know if the remaining part of the Dragon God method had been passed down. The Golden Dragon looked at him suspiciously. He was at a loss as he asked blankly, "Master, what do you mean by that? Why don't I understand?" Looking at the Golden Dragon's reaction, Tang Jing understood that the Dragon God method was still a secret to the ordinary Dragon Clan. He couldn't judge whether it had been passed down or not. Perhaps, only the current Dragon King of the Dragon Clan could answer this question. The Golden Dragon saw through the clues and impatiently asked, "Master, could it be that the Dragon God method is not complete, but there is another part?" After saying that, he looked at Tang Jing eagerly, wanting to know the answer from him. The Golden Dragon knew very well what it meant if that was the case. The Dragon God method was very important to the Dragon Clan. It was a set of basic cultivation techniques. Many of the Dragon Clan's divine abilities were performed or evolved on the basis of the Dragon God method. If there was a problem with the foundation, then it was definitely a big problem for the Dragon Clan. Tang Jing's face became serious. He nodded heavily at the Golden Dragon and said in a deep voice, "Golden Dragon, you guessed right. There is indeed a part of the Dragon God method. You are only cultivating the basic version. There is an advanced version." These words were not loud, but in the Golden Dragon's ears, it was like a bolt from the blue. He was so scared that he trembled and almost fell to the ground. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.